I might have him beat. I don't know.
I don't know. He's deceptively old for how he looks.
Pulling 38 next month. Let's go, baby.
Oh yeah, yeah. 38 is a distant memory.
Uh-oh.
I'm not even. I'm there. I'll be there before I know it. I'll blink.
Oh yeah.
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 Somewhere between 30 and 35. I don't know what happened. Right.
None of us do.
It's like, wait, shit. I'm 35. Now I'm 37. About to be 38. But 40's right there.
Yeah.
It's okay.
46. So.
Oh man. Well, you don't look it.
Oh man, he says.
Chris says you don't look a day over 75. But here we are. This is episode 13 of CornStars. I'm Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Chris Painchab of Badlands Herpeticulture. You were about to throw in your own intro there, weren't you?
Y'all's gonna start talking about.
I do the jig all the time now. It drives me crazy because I see him about to, and then I'm like, nope. And this show is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram, BlackBoxCages.com. You need a rack, you need a cage. BlackBox is all the mother effing rage. Really good stuff. Please check them out. Use the code THN at checkout. Get a little bit shaved off the top, and we don't get any kickback or anything from that, which is fine. It just you get awesome cages and racks, the best around, objectively. Check them out. And then the fine folks at Silent Hill Reptiles. We got to shout out JT and Mindy, who also produce some top-notch stuff. They've got some Bairds for me that they produced last year. I don't know what they're planning to pair this year. It sounds like they might take some time and just cut back on as far as pairings and stuff go. But either way, follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Absolutely. Some of the best stuff out there. Amazing animals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't have enough of their stuff.
Isn't that tough, right? You're just like, can I also get more?
Well, that's the problem. Is you go to like what they have available, and you look through it, and it's like, oh man,
they're super nice too. Yeah, they're really nice people.
Oh, that's the kicker on it. They're just absolutely awesome people. They're JT and Mindy are sweethearts. They're fluid with what they're doing. They're transparent. They love talking shop and becoming friends. They're cool people.
Absolutely.
Well, if you're watching this, then you can tell that we are joined by Mr. Adrian Hoverter. Got it. Yeah. If you're listening, this is Adrian is the owner and operator of Adrian's Captive Creations. So we're going to talk about his corn snake projects, but then he also does a ton of other stuff. I have a hard time believing we're not going to do this, and Chris isn't going to have to talk about king snakes even for a brief minute.
Yeah,
of course.
So we're happy to have you, man. I know this is a little short notice, so we appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us. Yeah.
So what's the as far as getting into herps? Like you can either sort of give us the Cliff Notes version, or you can give us the Harry Potter book.
I'll try not to do the Harry Potter. Well, I started like everybody else. I bought a male ball python at a pet store.
Yes.
I kept that for years. I got a corn snake. I ended up with a Dumerul's boa.
Nice.
Was just kind of keeping. And then somebody told me about Hamburg. So I ended up there, and that's where the collection really started to take off, and I started to think about breeding and stuff like that. So I guess that's the Cliff Notes version. I started keeping. I was 30 years old, so I haven't been doing this. Like I wasn't a kid that started doing this. I started this as an adult.
Nice.
So, and then about 2011, I started my first clutch. And then I started working towards making it a business, hopefully a full-time business. We're heading that direction.
Yeah, I mean, flipping through your Facebook, man, it seems like you're definitely cranking out a lot of stuff. At least within the past few years.
Yeah, we've been growing exponentially.
That's good. Yeah, steady growth too. It looks like, which is definitely an important thing with
That's
wanting to go full time is you get that kind of exponential growth that a lot of newer keepers that are adults that are, level-headed, kind of know what their plan may be. You get this huge exponential growth, and it burns you out quick. And it's something we've all got to be conscious of. And it's even like me and Justin, we've been in this hobby our whole lives, and it's real easy for us to, at the drop of a hat, go way nuts into something. And so it's cool. I'm glad that, you've taken your time and you've made smart decisions, it looks like, on your collection.
I've been trying to. Yeah, I've been building like organically, a lot of holdbacks, building stuff, trying not to spend too much money, trying to, put money into racks and stuff like that. So
quality equipment, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, was it like a conscientious decision that you grew like, so like maybe you start out and you have 2 pairs of stuff, and then you have holdbacks, you said, but you plan, at that point, so by 2 or 3 years down the road, I plan to have 4 pairs. Like, was it
it was
choice, or was it something that just kind of it happened on its own, and sort of as you progressed with the number of holdbacks you had?
It started out as more like a hobby type of thing, and then as I met a good friend of mine, Vernon Kitchen. He started mentoring me kind of, and he asked me one day, do you want this to be a hobby, or do you want this to be you want to make money at this? And I looked at him and said, I want to make money. And since then, I've just been approaching it as more of a business, trying to make business decisions. So that's just trying to build it organically. And I think people go really fast sometimes, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked, is because I know, like, even myself, like with corns, at least in the last like 2 years, like I've got a ton of corns, like probably more than I should have. Like there is stuff that I'm definitely keep focused on and definitely want to pursue, but then I do have some extraneous stuff from the man in the middle here. That is stuff that I will be posting back up for sale on Morph Market here now that the weather's getting sort of normal again. But like, it was sort of like an explosion all of a sudden of a ton of corns, and it's like, I know the handful of stuff I really do want to focus on, but at the same time, I'm like, there's some other stuff that's really cool that I don't want to. It's the problem is I see it. So like that charcoal tessera you sent me.
Yeah.
That is a killer snake.
Yeah.
I don't really need him. I don't really have any plans for him, but he's tough, so damn nice that it's like, there's nothing saying that in the next like 3 years, 2 years, something might come into the picture that he might be useful for. And so then I end up holding on to it.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with a ton of other stuff. And so then I end up with a ton of snakes and no really hyper-focused direction. Right.
Yeah. And I think I've even done the same thing, Justin. I held back a few extra males, a few extra females, and then I kind of look at it and I'm like, man, I held back like 16 tesseras and 2 not tesseras. What if I want to produce something that's not a tessera? Right. Stuff like that happens. These little focuses we generate, and it's because I know what I like. I really like tessera. I love the way it looks. I love the variants. But then I kind of got to the point where I produced some of the coolest ones, and I was like, well, this is the best high red A male tessera. This is the best anary tessera. This is the best, charcoal tessera. And I the pewter. I produced multiple pewter tesseras this year. So I kept those, right? And I was like, man, I was kind of going through the racks because I got a show this weekend. I was like, all right, I got to pull out some stuff that I'm going to sell. And I was like, man, that's tessera. That's tessera. It's tessera. Shit. There's a lot of tesseras. So, yeah. But no, that's cool. And also, you've kind of said making conscientious business decisions as well with your kind of livestock, as we might affordably say.
Right.
I go through your page and you have a lot of variants. So with that, what does your current collection look like?
Well, it's mostly hognose, mostly Western hognose. That's probably 60% of the collection now.
Oh wow.
I've got probably 20% corn snakes and then 20% ball pythons. Don't make fun of me too much.
No, I looked. You've got some really, pied stuff. Some of the OD pied, I think that you showed pairing up. Those are really cool. Those are really sharp animals.
Yeah, when I first started getting into this, the pieds they were really expensive, and I thought they were just the coolest thing in the world. So that's pretty much what I'm focusing on with the ball pythons.
Also, pieds sell great.
They do. With ball pythons, I'm focusing on stuff that's selling. I'm not trying to do anything special. I'm just, looking to make quality stuff but stuff that's going to sell.
Yeah.
It's not really my focus, but It's nice to have on the table when you're vending and stuff like that.
They're
Yeah,
cool
sounds
animals.
Yeah,
You've got a couple
they're
animals,
fun.
corns and balls that a lot of people look at as beginner animals, and then hogs, which
Mhm.
I kind of look at as like kind of the next step up for a lot of
Yeah.
people. And so there's a good variance. Also, I think I saw some milk snakes too, and some king snakes. We'll get there. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I got some Florida king snakes. I used to have
Methro
milks. I used to have some milks. I don't anymore, but I started doing I got the tricolor hognose.
Oh,
I've
cool.
got the file snakes, captive bred. Got my first clutches
Yeah,
this year.
I saw that. That's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
I'm really excited about those. Those are cool animals.
Mhm.
They're
really
interesting to handle. They're just different. They move different. They look different. They feel different.
I held one at Daytona this past year, and in my hands, I was like, "This is the oddest snake I've ever put in my hands."
Right?
It's
They're light. They don't
Yeah.
have any like any heft to them. They're
They're
very
not
odd.
dense. Yeah.
They're not dense. That's what it is. Yeah,
they feel like an
so-
arboreal species. They feel like a
they do.
but they're kind of not.
Right,
So
right.
that's
And
cool. That's
the
cool.
hatchlings remind me of king snakes. They want live
Nice.
to start. They don't like me. You know, they don't want to feed for me all the time. So me and king snakes have a thing. But
It's a good range, man. That's a good range of species. That's cool.
yeah, I enjoy it. It's good variety. When I'm spread across the table, I can hit a lot of demographics.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
With the balls, what are sort of the morphs that you're sort of focused on the most? Because that's something that always really baffles me, is like how people can even like come into ball pythons and
Right.
like be able to sell stuff with so many being available now. Like, is it sort of like the lower tier, mid tier stuff in terms of price that seems to be selling a lot? Like, I mean, obviously, like green tree pythons, there's not people going out and buying $10,000 blue line animals off the bat. At least for the most part, like your market is small for that, but it is there. Like same people that shop for Lamborghinis, you know, it's like most people just want a Ford Focus or something, but you do have that group.
Oh yeah.
Higher end. So, I guess is it similar in a manner with balls in your experience?
My collection is to the point now where I'm starting to get some higher end stuff that'll start to produce for me. In the past, I've been selling bananas, nothing fancy. Some pies, maybe a pie with an incomplete dom on it, that kind of stuff. I have some True Ghost stuff, they call it, because they called Hypo Ghost for whatever reason. So now I'm doing Xanthic and it's True Ghost. Nobody seems to care about that, so I picked that as my fun thing to do.
It's always cool to grab those kind of things.
They're really cool looking too. They almost have like this bluish tint to them, especially in your hand. Like on pictures, you can't always see it. But
it seems like the market for ball pythons is similar to the market on crested geckos. I don't know why I draw the line to those two. There's extremely expensive crested geckos.
Yeah,
$15,000. I think there's $20,000-$30,000 combos now, and they don't really sell that much. But for some reason, that like $100 to $300 window, that's where everybody's at, right? And I don't know what pied ball pythons go for, but I'm assuming it's in that.
Yeah, you're $200 to $400, $500.
$200 to $400.
$200 minimum.
Yeah, and that's a good place to be in when you're selling a snake for a business standpoint. If you can sell a snake for $300, $400, you're winning all day long. You can't lose.
No.
So, to be honest with you, hog noses are probably 75% of my income from snakes. It's not even close.
Hognose sells shockingly well.
They really do.
I mean, everybody. I was like, is this going to be like the ball python thing where people just burn out? And it's not. It is not. People want everything. The super conda combos. Some, I have some personal favorite. I had some beautiful hognose from a buddy, Elijah, and I got bit by one, and I was like, well, we're done with hognose. I didn't get envenomated, luckily, but being allergic to the world, I did decide to move those on, which was tough because God, they're gorgeous, but they're really, really neat little animals.
I had
they're really
normals, and they were fun, man.
Normals are gorgeous too.
Yeah, and they sell for a decent price too, and
Well,
then people love them.
Me and Jake joked for the longest time that normals were the rarest morph of all because it was like you couldn't go to a show and find a freaking normal. Any of the shows we went to, like you could look for a normal, and if you found one, they were still like $150 or something.
Yeah,
almost 200 sometimes. It was like what?
I don't think I've ever seen a hognose under 100, 125. I don't think ever.
When I first started going to Hamburg, you could buy a hognose $50. Nobody cared about them. Nobody had them. They're just a little snake on the side. Nobody cared about them until recently.
Yeah, it's that was an interesting switch, and it kind of generated itself from the ball python guys that got into them, and that's not a bad thing, right? That's not a bad thing at all. And for such an odd kind of colubroid, I guess it's not a colubroid, to kind of do that same thing, and it followed the patterns of corn snakes as well. There was a lot of history, lineage. You have line red. I think some of the lemon. I think is one of the
lemon ghosts. Yeah.
The raging red. I think is a line bred group, and some of those have morphs allocated with them. We have our tequila sunrise and some of our kind of more popular line bred corn morph oriented animals, and it's kind of neat to see that happening with hogs. But I am just astounded that they're holding the prices they are, and I hope it keeps up because, hey, hognose guys get into colubrids. that's a they good
do.
One.
They do, and the ball python guys are starting to come this way too. It's funny
all the ball python guys either
sniff around.
Started dipping into like
they're running out of real estate, man. They gotta start.
At some point with ball pythons, right? Like there's 300 morphs or something.
Oh, it's unbelievable how many, and then all the combos and
you'll see like corns. I think Sarah Moore actually talked about this. We have 33 morphs and corns. I probably couldn't name them all, but I could address what each one looks like if I had the names written down. But with balls, it just got crazy. And hogs kind of are closer to corn snakes, right? Like except for there's more dominant, co-dominant, and incomplete dominant.
Oh, there's two, I believe. Two incomplete.
Okay. Arctic and
Conda. Yeah. A lot of line bred stuff. Really, a lot of the best looking ones are the line bred stuff.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty cool.
And then you start adding those into your recessives, and you're cooking with gas. Like that.
Yeah, and it's funny. So. I know we've derailed off corn snakes a little bit, but
we definitely did.
Your leopard gecko guys all got into hognose also.
Yes.
It's kind of funny. And then now all of the hognose, ball python, leopard gecko, corn snake people are for some reason getting into chondros. It seems like everybody I know
if they're looking for what they're finding in those other species, it ain't
good luck.
Yeah.
No, it ain't there.
Paywall's much taller.
Yeah. I think it's because all these guys were like, okay, well, I'm going to get successful with one of these things. But you know what I always wish I had? And it's always been, Adrian, you're a little older than me, but remember back when we're teens or not even really into reptiles too much, and you see a picture of a green tree python, you're like, nothing looks like that, right?
Right. That's amazing.
And it's kind of that natural progression.
What's funny, you mentioned the hognose and the ball pythons. I was reading in a Reptiles magazine, used to get that, and they had an article that said hognose was going to be the next ball python. This was probably 2008, 9.
Oh wow,
something like that. I read that article, and the next Hamburg, I picked up my first pair. That's kind
awesome.
of why I started. And then I had them. What's up? Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on sable?
I'm putting it into everything. I'm trying to. Yeah. It intensifies everything you put into it. So you put it into albino, and it intensifies it.
I remember it sort of coming out and it being the rage, and then I remember looking at it and being like, it's just a really dark, dirty looking kind of normal. But then it wasn't until someone's like, well, once you put it into other stuff, then it makes sense. Like it's by itself, it's okay, but when you throw it into other things, like that's when it really sort of amps stuff up a bit.
It just amps everything up is exactly what it does. I'm actually trying, hopefully my Mercury male, who's not even a year old yet, breeds with my sable female. They're together
Nice.
right now. So the Mercury is lavender and axanthic.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Nice.
So,
The sable reminds me of red factor in corn snakes. Right,
Yeah.
if you have a regular red factor corn, they do look cool. They're slightly redder. In
Yeah.
fact, some localities kind of portray that look already. But then you
Right.
take red factor and you put it in anary, you put it in ghost. Oh, and then you put it in snow, and then now
Yep.
you just have these
Amazing.
insane animals. Yeah,
Mhm.
that are. And I
It's
think
funny.
we're gonna find. Oh, go ahead, Justin. Excuse me.
It's funny that there's like these singular things that you can just toss into the mix that just completely take things another direction. Because like with chondros,
Mhm.
like Wamena locality and Biox, for whatever reason, you tie those into like some of the designer stuff, and it's magic. Like it just
That's
does
crazy.
some really wild things. And Wamena, it doesn't really necessarily make sense because those are like mainland, like Papuan animals. Like it's a Papuan locality, like right almost in the center of the island, if I'm not mistaken. But Biak is its own thing. Like the divergence genetically from everything else is pretty vast, and so it kind of makes sense that it would do that to when you tie it in other stuff. But I don't know. Everything I've seen that has Wamena in it just does really, really odd things.
That's cool. That's like me
Yeah.
and Justin's outlook on Sunkissed. Put Sunkissed into everything, and it's instantly better.
I agree with that also.
I don't know what it is, but I cannot think of a single gene in corn snakes that I look at a corn snake and don't instantly think this could be better with Sunkissed.
I 100% agree.
Cinder Sunkissed, right? A lot of people don't like shatters, and it's like,
ow, what? Who says
How
that?
could you
Who doesn't like shatters?
I've never heard someone say shatters suck.
I've talked with people that don't like shatters because it takes away all of the, your cinder Sunkissed. Say you make a shatter caramel or something, a honey cinder. Well, it takes away everything. You're not going to get the honey, right? You're not going to get the yellow. You're not going to get those things because that shatter effect kind of breaks everything apart. I'm like, but have you seen shatters? Right? They're just insane.
Well,
You don't need those people in your life.
Yeah, I mean, has anybody tied shatter into other stuff yet, though?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Has anyone even like extrapolated on shatter by putting it back into some of those things to bring like color and things back?
I know that there was a group that was doing. Well, the problem is, so Sunkissed is like has a hypo effect, so it's going to lighten a lot of the melanin, and then Cinder is kind of a hypoerythristic effect. So you're lightening a lot of your yellows, you're lightening a lot of your reds, you're lightening a lot of your dark colors. It kind of naturally has that monochromatic look, but I've seen it put in with buff, and I've seen it put in with what you call it, AML. It's really cool with AML. I don't know what happens when you put like a red factor or I guess red coat wouldn't really do anything with it, but your red factors, your JMG line stuff.
Red factor would probably look nice. You would
right?
Make it like a snow. You would pink it all up. So.
But I don't know if you lose your capability of red factor with the hypoerythristic nature of Cinder. So it's kind of
crawling back to zero at that point, sort of.
Now somebody's got to do it all. Somebody's got to map it all out.
Actually hatched a AML shatter this year, or last year, 2022.
Dude, they're badass looking.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I was hoping for the Ultramel, but I got the AML.
Oh, Ultramel, that's right, an Ultramel shatter.
Ultramels are cool. Yeah,
I love
Ultramels.
Ultramels.
Cool.
There's I'm always excited to produce more Ultramels.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, if we are talking about corns, do you have any particular focuses as far as morphs or localities?
Well, let's back it up real quick.
Okay.
At what point did you get into corns, and why?
Corns that was my first clutch. The second snake I got was a corn snake. I like their colors, the variability. The more I learned about them, the more morphs I learned. I'm a big morph guy. I'm not much for the locality stuff. I do, it's cool, oak teas and stuff like that. But yeah, that was like my first. That's what got me really into the breeding. And I started breeding the other things, ball pythons and hog noses and everything else.
What was that first pairing?
AML to Butter Motley.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of big old clutch of AMLs. So
yeah,
it was
with the
30.
right heads, though.
30.
Whoa.
First clutch, 30 animals. I had a rack, little homemade rack, had like 26 slots in it. I had to get little sandwich bins and stuff. I had them sitting on top.
That is a huge first clutch.
It really is. I still have her. Let's see, she's semi-retired. Her last clutch was like 27. She lays these tiny little eggs, but they all hatch. They all come out right. Like she's the best breeder.
Cool. Yeah.
Is that Ghost Tester a female from you, Chris? Didn't you say that she's like that, where she'll have bigger clutches but they're smaller eggs? The babies just come out smaller. Or was that a different female we were talking about?
She had some like micro babies my first time breeding her. So I had a couple little Tic Tac size eggs. They were smaller than crested gecko eggs. What? I had a couple of tiny little corn snakes. I have pictures I'll have to pull up. These little corn snakes that came out, every single one of them ate right off the rip. And within the first 3 or 4 weeks, they were the same size as the other ones. They grew just instantly. They shed. But no, her clutch for me was along the lines of what she laid for you. I think it was the exact same 14 eggs, something like that. I've never had a clutch over 17 eggs.
Really?
No.
You're lucky.
Yeah. I think this year I'm gonna crack that with that caramel female.
Oh, dude,
I took pictures.
Friggin' beast.
It was a buddy snake. He's a sweetheart. I think he got her from, I don't remember where he got her. He didn't raise her, but she's bigger by a magnitude than my black pine proven female, and she's over 5 foot. Easy.
Ridiculous.
I have pictures of me holding her. I'm like, this snake is massive.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask if this was a pet. This was someone's pet that you got?
It had to have been, right?
Yeah.
So my buddy runs
a small rat once a week.
Right?
This thing could eat large rats without a problem. My black pines eat small rats or medium rats, and she could eat my black pine. She's 880 grams.
Oh my god. That's insane.
I took a picture of her on the scale, dude.
How old is she?
No idea. So my buddy, Matt Trevino, he's absolute banger of a human. Runs a reptile rescue, but beyond the rescue, he also when people surrender their pets, right? Maybe you're moving or something, he'll take care of them and he'll rehome them. Well, he's bred corn snakes before. He's like, well, I really want to get back into breeding corn. So I was like, well, yeah, if you ever get a healthy girl or a healthy boy, maybe we can work out a pairing. And he's like, hey, I got this caramel female. Can I bring her over? And he sent me pictures over. I was like, oh, what a gorgeous snake. She's got that very stereotypical yellow, but she's got this nice diffusing on her sides. There's some grays right where they need to be. And I was like, yeah, bring her over. So he brings her over. It's just this big old box. And I was like, it's a big box for a corn snake, man. And he's like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's like a 28-quart tub, and the snake fills the whole thing.
Right.
And he pulls her out, and I was like, no way. There's no way. I was like, I got a caramel male, but he's like, maybe 300 grams. I keep my males small. Yeah. And I got pictures. I sent Justin pictures of him hooking up with her. It is hilarious.
See if he can hold on the full 8 seconds.
It looks like a hognose breeding, right? Or even smaller. You see these tiny little males. They're just like hanging on the female. But they, I usually start pairing kind of immediately after brumation. I get my first couple feedings in. Boom, boom, boom. Every 3 or 4 days, I feed small, tiny little, either hoppers or something. And so I paired them up. Dude, they immediately boom, boom, boom went at it. So I was like, all right, maybe we're going to have 4,000 caramels this year.
4,000 caramels. Or else you'll have caramels that hatch out, eat fuzzies.
Mm-hmm.
How amazing would that be? Both ways.
She lays like pine snake eggs, and I get corn snakes that come out ready to breed. But she got paired up to from Silent Hill, my male caramel that I raised up from him. So that's just exciting, damn good looking animals paired up. And it's crazy how different they look, even though they're both just single gene animals. But you have that Miami phenotype from JT, and then this kind of being that more, I guess, Keys type, more yellow kind of base.
Right. Yeah, I like caramel a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it's not as popular as it should be more popular, but it doesn't seem to. They're always my slowest sellers, and I don't know why.
I think with caramel, what happens is it's 25 or 35 or $50 more for a honey, and when you put a honey next to a caramel, it's really hard to justify not buying the honey. That's the only thing I can think. But I think your butters, your saffrons, your ultra, I guess it would be a gold dust, right? Your ultramel. I think gold dust is ultramel caramel. Man, those are really neat too, and sometimes those kind of get slept on a little bit.
They do.
Yeah, I don't. Caramel is kind of one of those ones that it does kind of. Also, a big ontogenic change.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it. Yeah, they don't look.
Yeah.
They look terrible as babies.
Mm-hmm.
You try to tell people, and they're just like,
Right?
no.
It's like somewhere between an anery and a like kind of classic corn, but somehow looks a little poopier and browner. And yeah.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, I think Sarah sort of, when she talks about caramel, like she's not a fan of caramel by itself, but it seems, she's of the opinion, I agree, that when you tie it into other things like Motley and stuff like that, like then it does, for whatever reason, seem to look a little better. But I don't know. I do love caramel though. I mean, I have those 2 Miami caramels from you that are, only getting better with each shed. Like, but it was one of those things when I first got them, and I was like, okay, they're cool. But then they shed when I first, like, their first shed with me. I was like, oh, okay. Then it clicked, and I was like, that makes sense. Like, these things are nice.
Right.
You have that cinder caramel I produced, right?
Yes.
Those.
There you go.
Those enhance oddly. They're, I've got the one from JT, which is a little over a year old now. As they change, they go through many different color changes. You'll start seeing a lot of that yellow, and you're like, oh, cool. Then kind of a lot of that yellow kind of goes away. And right now, mine's kind of waned down to less yellow, and it's neat combo to watch progress. So. Yeah. but back, Adrian, back on you on that morphs to look out. As you already said, you're more morphs. What morphs? Anything in particular?
Cinder. I love cinders, peppermints.
Peppermints are badass.
Cinder, man. Anything. Just sign me up.
Peppermint Tessera stripes are amazing. I got a peppermint Tessera stripe going to a peppermint Tessera stripe this year. Not a lot of fun stuff happening there, but I'm excited for it. I made that by accident. I didn't know that the hats were there, the stripe hats, and I made it. And I was like, "What the hell is this?" So, yeah, anything cinder, anything sun-kissed. I'm doing hypo or ultramel ghost, ultramel Henry hypo. I'm doing some stuff with that. Some scaleless. Hopefully, I actually can produce some babies with the scaleless. I've had terrible luck with the scaleless with fertility. I don't know. It's just me. Everyone else gets these big clutches, and I get.
Yeah, I've never heard fertility issues.
No, it's totally me. I see everybody else just producing it all, so we're doing that, and then I work with dilute. I like dilute a lot. Dilute Henry, Motley tests.
Early last year I sold a pair of Motley dilutes.
Those were nice.
And those were really nice. And when I sold them, I was cutting back on a few things and cutting back on a few projects. And if I could go back, I would get those animals right back again.
That was those blues, right?
Yeah, the European line they call them blue Motleys.
Blue Motleys, yeah. Yeah, if you actually get rid of the anery and you replace that with hypo, those are awesome. The hypo dilute Motleys, they're just pink. They're awesome. I keep missing on those, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes this year.
dilute falls along that same realm of Castagna, where not a lot of people work with it, but it does very similar things as other genes, but with specific genes, it does things very differently, right?
Right.
It acts like a hypotype, and I guess it falls within the realm of hypotype. But like you said, when you start plugging it in with other things, you get really neat. The blue Motleys were. I'm so dumb, right? I'm just dumb, right?
I was surprised when you were getting.
You should have kept them.
Like, dude.
Yeah.
If you put the Sarah in there, it's all over.
I had 130 babies, and I was out of space, and mice were costing me $1,000 a month, and I was like, all right, I've got to cut rid of something. And I had some gopher snakes I almost sold. Right, I posted them up for sale. I was like, I'm going to sell these gophers, my double albino stripe project, or I say project, but my combo. And then finally somebody was going to buy them. And I was like, box them up. And I was like, yeah, man, we ain't doing this. Luckily, it was a local buddy, right?
Okay.
My local friends. Like, I'm boxing them up. And my daughter's in the room. And she's all, Daddy, why are you putting sunshine
Where are they
in
going?
a box?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, why are you putting sunshine in a box? I was like, oh, I'm gonna give him to a friend. She's like, well, can I hold him one last time? And I was like, yeah, baby,
Oh,
of course.
geez.
She's like sitting there holding this like 5-foot gopher snake that's all super chill, and I was just like, yeah. You're right.
Damn it.
We should keep those. So I still have
It's a sickness. It really is.
it's God, you love them, and then the kid likes it, and you're just like, well, what do I do?
Put it back in the rack.
Put it right,
Yeah.
slid it right back in the tub, shut the door, and said, "You can eat tomorrow."
Yeah.
That's fun. So awesome. So how many pairings do you think you're doing this year? Not just owners. Why don't you tell us about overall amount of pairs?
Overall, I just went through and was writing them down because I'm starting to pair, especially the colubrids and stuff. We're looking at 54 pairings this year.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. It's like 27 hognose. I want to say 10 or 11 corn snakes. We got the file snakes, tricolors, 4 or 5, the Florida Kings, and then ball python.
How big are hognose clutches typically?
That 1 to last year I got with double clutching. I got 40 from one.
What?
I got 20 and 20.
God.
Ha, damn.
And that the male that sired those was not a year old when he sired them.
Wow.
Believe
That's
that.
wild.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. She saved the year. She was 2022. It's a snow to snow condo. So I just all snows.
That was the one thing that took a long time for me to sort of come to terms with. Was like I fed my male regularly. Well, when he would eat, which was so infrequent. But
Yeah.
I was like, I swear to God, this thing hasn't grown an inch since I got it. Like, I got it as a baby, and I feel like it hasn't gotten any. Like, it just, and then the female just kept going and going and going, and I'm like, what the hell? Not used to.
It's wild, yeah.
It is wild. I don't feed my males. They're hopper, small hopper.
Yeah.
That's as big as they get.
And you said those are ghost condos?
Snow condos.
Oh,
snows and snow
condos.
condos.
That's a badass combination.
Yeah.
Snow condos are,
They fly off the shelf.
Yeah.
They just
That's a yeah. If you're going full time and you're making 40 snow condos a year, that's a good.
Yeah. I hope she does it again this year.
That's feeling good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
But then I know that you have other pairings and you get 4 eggs. 3 of them hatch. So.
Or the female turns around and eats half the clutch, or
I had that happen one time. I was actually pulling the eggs out as she's eating them. I pull the bin and she's got one in her mouth and I'm like, what the? I got most of them. I don't
know why.
She ate 2 as I was pulling them out.
I know Dr. Loftman in one of his podcasts talked about why they do that, but damn, what a stupid animal! I'm sorry. They're just popping them out at the same time.
Yeah.
They're
not bright.
I had an Eastern King eat its clutch of eggs. It was
Yeah.
I knew it was gravid. They were both gravid at the same time. Had a pair of females. They both were ready to lay. I look in one egg box. Oh, she's laying eggs. Perfect. I open up the other one and she's back fat as ever. And I feel her. I was like, all right, she's got eggs. And I was like, all right.
No.
And then
She sucked them back up. Where'd they
5 days ago, she takes the messiest, nastiest crap I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, bet. Okay. All right. That's what we did there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your Florida Kings, man. What morphs you working with there?
Hypomosaics. They're my favorite. They're strikingly red as babies anyway. And then I got some white-sided xanthics, some hybinos, lavender and hypo. What else do I got? Some ghosts.
Ghosts are cool.
I got some jellies that I'm trying to sell. I might end up breeding them. They're ready to breed. I just feel like I got too many king snakes, so I was trying to sell them. I was shopping them around. They just shed off. I'm thinking about just pairing them and just try to sell them later.
Florida Kings are a weird one. The babies seem to sell pretty well, but when I see people selling adults, they kind of don't sell well. I don't know why. It's kind of
I don't know. They're a steady seller, I would say. But I went crazy one year, just bought a whole bunch of them, and I don't need that many. Like I want some, but not
I
that
think
many.
every person that has ever bred anything has at some point bought a bunch of king snakes and been like, nah, maybe that was 3 too many. I don't know.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But and I used to breed California kings too, and they're terrible creatures. I don't like those things at all.
That goes for the entire Getula complex. I don't care what anybody says.
I do love them. God, they're gorgeous, and
They are.
They got contrast, and I've got my pair of Ciudad Insurgensis Bajas, and I'll keep those forever. They're demons, but I'll keep them forever because they're so specific, they're so special, and they're tiny, which is neat, right? Like they're 3 foot long. But yeah, I think I've moved on from the Getula complex. Just personally, I think Justin's done the same. Well, Justin has a king snake from Jason Keller. He's very excited about.
Oh my God, we are drawing for the raffle on Monday. For the love of God, there's plenty of slots left open on that thing. Go buy some.
Okay.
That thing's the worst.
What a pretty little snake, though. It is a very pretty animal.
It's okay. It ain't that. I got that snow mail from you that is like the same thing except whiter, and I like it way more because it's also not an asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not so pretty when it's latched on your arm and shitting on you at the same time.
Yeah.
Back on corns. You talked about the peppermint stripe tessera pairing that you're doing, and you're also pairing some scaleless. What other combos in there this year that you're pairing? Are you looking forward to?
Well, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I got about 11 pairings, so I don't have a lot of corns stuff going on. I got the well, I do have one. Yeah, I got the blood red opal.
Yeah.
66 het cinder. I'm still not sure if she proved out or not to a cinder blood red motley, who is het lavender. I think I said that right. So I'm trying to get lavender and cinder in blood red at the same time. I think I might have hit it. I'm not sure. I helped back a female. At first, I didn't think at all. I thought, no, this is just lavender. Now she's starting to look very, very gray and has almost like a reddish hue, which you wouldn't see in just a lavender. So that
lavenders are interesting. I think there's a big variation in lavenders that isn't discussed too often. I think it's a very variable morph, and I could just be talking on my ass, but I think it's another cool one that not a ton of people are working with.
I think everyone got scared away from it with all the initial problems.
Certain lines,
you know?
Certain lines
with kinking and stuff. Yeah, I haven't had any issues with stuff that I've been doing. But mine was very outcrossed too. So
I'm just wondering, regardless of outcrossing, and we're going to jump to a question we're going to ask probably a little bit later. What is your incubation temp?
I like 82 for colubrids.
Yeah.
If my house sometimes it gets real hot, the temperature in there will raise a little bit. It might get to 83. It might even get to 84. And if it gets cold, we get some rainy days. It might drop to like 80. And I'm okay with that. I think colubrids are fine doing that a little bit, as long as it's not fast. As long as you're not jumping up and down.
Yeah. Certain morphs have things tied to their incubation temperatures. We've seen this in other species. Yeah. And I'm wondering if there's a variance in there on lavender. I'm sure this has been investigated much heavier than my little pedestal. But is it maybe people that incubate too cold, they incubate too long with that particular morph? Maybe. The way the chromatophores, because remember, lavender doesn't show up in scales. So there's
that's very interesting. Yeah.
That's something compoundedly interesting going on. It's in the scalation. Scales are one of the last things, or the scalation happens later on in the development of the animal, especially with pigment in the scalation. If we cut open an egg that's halfway through, an egg that's 3/4 of the way through, we often get an animal that looks very hypo. I wonder if as that pigmentation develops in those animals, something's creating the kinking, whether it's incubating too long or it's incubating too fast. You know what I mean? There may be
Right. I don't think either one of those is a good idea. I don't think super fast is a good idea. And some of these, I'm incubating at 74 degrees. I'm like, why? Why are you doing that?
It'll hatch in 9 months.
Yeah. It'll be huge in 9 months. Yeah.
I know king snake guys will Mexicana complex guys will do that. They'll brumate as long as they possibly can, and then they'll incubate as cold as they possibly can. So they're getting babies in like July, and that's so that they can brumate them faster. That way brumation comes up in October. You're only a few months away if it decides not to eat. Right. But yeah, with corn snakes, with rat snakes, with something that's such a active, admittedly, arboreal as a baby, right? Very prehensile, very, very. I don't I don't think that happens in the wild.
Yeah, I mean, even with the
No.
Boygo, when I was breeding those,
Yeah.
like the Cyanea, like 82 during the day, and then the thermostat would drop to 78 at night.
Yeah.
And I honestly just kept that dialed in for Bairds and Corns and the thorn scrubs. Like I didn't even bother changing my thermostat. I just let it drop at night and then warm back up during the day, and I think that works fine. I don't see any reason to go anywhere outside of that 82 to 78 range.
Right.
You know, personally.
Yeah, totally. And I got a pretty large incubator, and I'll put like tricolors. I like to do a little cooler, so I'll put them at the bottom of the incubator. You know, because that'll stay closer to 80.
Yeah.
Whereas the top will be more in the 82 range.
Nice. So I'm guessing you're incubating ball pythons separately.
Yeah.
Right.
I got two smaller ones.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, 88, 89.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Pythons are still an
oof,
odd
that's
mystery to
crazy.
me.
See, I don't know, like chondros, man, like 86 or 87.5, maybe max. And usually, even then, I think a lot of people are actually starting to go closer to like 85. Like over the past couple of years, it seems like I've noticed people are trending to start cooking them a little cooler. So that's wild because I can't imagine incubating anything over 86. You know.
That's my leopards. People are like, yeah, you gotta, you keep them 88, 90 degrees. I'm like, but that's hot. I'm terrified.
Leopard gecko eggs are that hot? I didn't realize that.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The actual animals.
The animals.
They're temperature sex dependent. So my incubator is set at 81. This year I took a big emotional step and turned it to 82, so that if I do get leopard gecko eggs, I can produce females and not have
living dangerously.
I know. I kind of had to really contemplate it a lot because now my timings are going to be off by a couple of days. But I have a nice incubator. It's relatively small, but it maintains temperature everywhere in it. So
yeah.
So you're up in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
So how are you processing your females, getting them ready for breeding, putting them through brumation and pulling them out?
Yeah. Do you struggle with brumation being up there where you get real winners?
Well, we don't get real winners anymore. We got no snow last year. We got no snow this year. We got
really?
like 3 inches, I think, this year. It's my base. I take them down to the basement, so it stays relatively cool there. Even in the summertime, it's pretty cool down there. So I haven't had too many issues yet, but it's not getting as cold as it used to, and it's starting to worry me a little bit. I haven't seen any ill effects from it yet, but the temperature is definitely a few degrees warmer down there in the last 2 winters. So I take them down there for 2 months. I take them down there at Thanksgiving, at Black Friday weekend, and then I bring them up February 1st, 2nd, however that works out.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Pretty simple process. I don't take any time, like warming them up, cooling them down. Like I get them up into the kitchen. I get them into the snake room. I put them in the racks. The racks are hot.
Nice.
They're good to go. I give them a week or so and then start feeding them. Small meals.
What's the warm, like when you're saying warmer temperatures in the basement than usual? What is that?
I'd like it to be around 50. I used to get it close to 50, maybe 52, 55. Now it's getting closer to 60.
Okay.
Or we get cold snaps and it'll get down into the 50s, but it doesn't stay there for very long.
That's still pretty chilly. Yeah, that's good. That's good brumation temps for sure.
It is. It is.
I mean, it was 91 today here in sunny
75 here.
Corpus.
Oh, so, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, winter is officially over, friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a damn good. But you said only 2 months.
2 months.
That's a good thing that people need to understand. You don't have to have a 3-4 month brumation every time, and you've obviously had success with a multitude of species.
Yeah. I've always done 2 months. I make sure they stay dark. I think that's the most important thing.
I think it's a big thing. And the feeding, the dark and the feeding.
Yeah. No food, obviously. But dark. I leave them alone. Like I'll check water dishes every 2 weeks. The hog noses, a lot of times I'll pull out water dishes because they're stupid and they'll just like go swimming. I'm like,
50 degrees.
Somebody's got to get a respiratory. You're swimming. It's 55, So a lot of times I'll go and check and I'll just pull them out. and I'll give them back to them in a couple of weeks, let them drink a little bit, and then pull them out again.
Yeah.
And I actually just recently moved all my old racks down there, so now I actually have racks in the basement, which is nice.
Oh, that's real cool.
Yeah, I was stacking tubs, and that was really starting to be
I do
a
that.
pain.
It's annoying.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not even going downstairs. I'm going like 20 feet down the hall.
Yeah, it's still a pain when you're trying to get to them and look at them and check on them. And
yeah.
It was a pain in my absolute ass this year because I brumated more here at home. I did less at my cold. And the individual tubs, click. I brumate all my female corn snakes together. I have done that for years. I'm going to continue to do that. I've got every year I've got this one pewter that just decides not to breed. She's just, I hate her. She got put in her own tub this year. But other than that, males are in their own tubs. Females all go in one big tub and, check them every couple of weeks. But that's another great example. Everybody does it a little different. And that's... I didn't know hognose could breed or would breed after only a 2-month brumation. I thought they were 4 months, low and cold.
I got a buddy that doesn't brumate them at all. Really? He says he could follow the sheds, and I don't know what he's doing. Reading tea leaves. I don't know what he's doing, but he has good success. He was the first year he did the brumation, and one of them died, and he was like, "I'm not doing this anymore." And he started just pairing and and he does really well. Really well. So,
well, there you go.
I really do, and I mean, at some point, maybe this year, with cooling, I'll try it. But like, set aside a pair of corns at least, and like, I did it with the Bairds, where I stopped feeding them, and I just kept them. Like, I turned the rack heat off, and they still were in the room. They were just ambient, and they were at the bottom of the rack. So I mean, they were still getting like maybe low 70s at the warmest part of the day. But I just cut them off food, and I paired them no problem, and got my first clutch of Baird's eggs, and they were better than the clutch that I got from the same pair last year.
Huh.
Oddly enough, but I mean, I've also heard people say that they don't, you don't have to even really brumate Bairds to get them to go. But with corns, I really do wonder if the minimum, like, you don't have to get them that cold. Just take them off food and, give them a couple weeks and put them together and probably see if something happens. Like, because down here, I mean, in South Carolina where we have corns, I see what it's like throughout the seasons. And I mean, this year we actually had a fairly legit winter in terms of consistently cold temperatures. But even then, there's like days where like it's totally warm enough for them to still be functional and doing their thing. Like I don't know. I really do wonder if you could set aside a pair and not like truly cool them down and probably still get stuff out of them without, not that I want to cut corners or anything, but I think it's really possible that maybe the full like 50 degrees for 3 months is overkill.
I really think it adds the light. The light is what it is, because they're seeing that. Because sometimes some winters are warmer than others, some are cooler than others, but the light is always changing. It's always different, and that cycles them. That triggers it. So if you just block out the light for a while, that starts the cycle, and once it starts, nature takes its course.
It knows it's kind of that time to start preparing for that. I want to experiment in my own collection, similar to like what Justin was saying. I don't know. I like what Justin said about the Bairds. It's still, you've said it a million times. I've listened to you say. I think I say this every time. It shocks me that happened, and you could breed them like that, and Alternas like straight up will not breed unless you brumate them. You literally got to freeze them for 4 months, or the males will not produce sperm. They'll breed all day long, but they won't make eggs.
Right.
So it's every species is different, but god dang, you got 2 colubrids that you find on the same road, on the same rocks, on the same day.
Right. Right. You'd think it would be the same.
Those are different. And then you got like subocs, which are completely different. They don't even breed in the same time of year. And then you got gopher snakes over there that are again on the exact same road, and they do all their shit differently too. So it's whatever.
Right.
I think it's just any sort of like shift in environmental change from the norm, where it's like, okay, I've been cut off food for 3 weeks, and you continue to let that go. Like that's got to trigger some sort of hormonal shift, and then photo period. And like you were saying, like even in my room where I had the Bairds, like I have a window in my room, and so the days naturally get shorter, and the light is naturally shorter because they're experiencing that. We don't have basements here because we're below sea level pretty much. So at any point we could be underwater. But I think photo period, it's something I've talked about too on some of the other shows. Like photo period is way overlooked in terms of what its significance in these things, and that's why I've never been a fan of like the completely opaque tubs, like blacked out tubs and stuff. Like I like at least translucent tubs. Like I think that photo period and the recognizing of night and day is important. I mean, even for us, you think about it, we stay in a room with no windows and stuff, and it's odd. Like you don't,
you feel different.
Yeah. And so I can't imagine that with an animal that also has a circadian rhythm that it's not a similar effect.
Yeah. I actually got the ARS racks this year with the clear tubs. Really nice. They're those crystal clear. Man. They really are. They're nice. And they're a good size. The 5540s are a real nice size. I like that size.
I'm someday hoping to get some ARS stuff, but those tubs, I've always wanted to ask, are they like more brittle than a normal tub?
Are they like a Cambro tub?
They look brittle to me. I don't know. I just got these like a month ago.
Like if you drilled it, if you took a drill to it, would it?
I would.
Do you think it would crack, or do you think it would?
They'd probably tell you it wouldn't. It says that they're the same material, whatever. They're the same durability. They look brittle to me. I haven't experienced anything yet.
Because this is like normal tub, and I can twist it.
Right.
That's what every tub is made out of. And I'm like,
right. Yeah. It's not like that. It's stiff. It's stiff like they're gray tubs.
Okay.
It feels like the gray tubs, but it's so crystal clear you almost think it's glass. So you look at it, you feel like you're gonna break it. Like when I was washing them, I thought I was gonna break them. But
that's cool.
Yeah,
as far as
I'm happy.
Pairing your stuff once it's out of brumation, do you wait for those first sheds, or do you kind of just put stuff together to see if it happens when it happens?
I do with the corns and the kings. I wait for sheds. That seems to work for me. But the hognose, I do not. They if you wait for a shed, you're going to miss it. They shed so infrequently. You could have a female up for 3 months and finally get a shed. Like you're going to miss the ovulation waiting for sheds.
Keeled scale snakes do that. My Pituophis are the same way. I pair them after 4 or 5 meals. Boom, put them together.
That's what I do. Yeah, I do a couple small meals, a couple big meals, and I start pairing.
Do you wait for sheds, Chris?
I don't anymore.
Because that's like lately, at least between like our friends, our friend group and stuff, it seems like it's pretty mixed. Like some people wait for sheds, some people don't. People seem to have success one way or the other. I've always just waited for sheds just because that's always how I thought that it was that was the standard. But I also think they're going to know better than I will when the female's ready. So
all my kings, I definitely wait for sheds. The Leonis, the Alterna, the Getula stuff, I wait for a shed because if not, it's just feeding time. And that male,
that makes sense.
That male is going
that does make sense.
The males go off feed regularly when females start shedding.
Well, it's that explosion of hormones and pheromones and stuff.
Dude, you got 20 of them in a rack, which I'll have, I don't know, maybe 18 of them in a rack this year. They should all shed around the same time within a couple of weeks of each other. And dude, you cannot. The males will breed the females within seconds of putting them in the tub. I mean, you won't even count to a minute. But if I tried my Bajas last year, I put them together just to see before a shed because it seemed like they were waiting longer to shed, and that they straight to trying to eat each other. And like both of them were trying to eat each other. It's so stupid. So yeah, with all my kings, I wait for sheds. Corns and pits, Chinese beauties, I don't wait for sheds at all. I just pretty much.
But have you noticed that even if you put a male in and before you get, you've had sheds and stuff, that the female isn't interested, or do you notice that it just doesn't seem to matter? Because I've always wondered, like the reason I asked that is because I've always wondered if you put a male in, it's like, of course the male's going to be ready because the male's going to be ready, 9 months out of the year. But if the female's not, she's not going to let it happen. So I'm wondering if maybe that shed is like when her kind of like, all right, it's time to go, like, let's get it over with kind of thing, or if it's...
I don't know the right answer to that, because this year I've had at least 5 pairs already locked, 4 or 5 pairs visually locked. and it's usually the female I notice is the go-getter. When I put the male and the female start doing her little dance,
the twitch,
the little twitch, and the male will kind of be like, I'm dumb, and then it'll like see it and like slither over to her. And with corns, with Pitiophis, with the exception of pine snakes, I don't see them breed at all. I don't know why. I've just never seen my pits breed.
I've got some pairs like that where it's like I won't see them lock, but I will
Look
get
at your
eggs,
thorn
and then I've
scrubs,
got other
right?
pairs. Yeah.
Prime example. The thorn scrubs. Yeah, I've got my thorn scrubs. I got a couple pairs I'm going to be doing this year, and dude, you don't see anything. I do not see any visual breeding. The pines and stuff. That the male literally pins the female like against the tub, mouth, head and mouth. They're disgusting savages. I think those females are ovulating before that first shed. Last year, every single Pitiophis I paired up, their first shed out of brumation was their prelay shed. And also on the Lampropeltis front, I'll still try them. Obviously, watching them before sheds, because a lot of Lampropeltis, especially some of your kind of more montane stuff, their first shed will be their prelay shed. But yeah, with corns, I don't know. I had 2 corns shed in brumation this year at 56 degrees, and I've heard that's like terrible. And I'm like, well, I mean, what do you do, right?
I had 1 or 2 of mine do it, and they were fine.
Yeah. I've had every year that happens. Somebody's down there shedding. What are you doing?
And I've heard people be like, "Oh, if you see a snake in brumation that's shedding, you got to get them out." And I'm like, "Well, it's 64% humidity everywhere in my house, other than my freezer. So they're gonna. I have perfect sheds from everything every time, with the exception of like the occasional ICAP or the dumb species that I shouldn't have anyways." So yeah, I don't.
But I think that speaks to it being more of a hydration issue than a humidity issue. At least with North American stuff,
Yeah,
like
I'm aggressively clean water in all my brumation tubs. I check that water often. If I'm checking anything, I'm checking water. That's just about the damn near first thing I'm doing. Yeah.
That's the only reason to be in there is for water. Just make sure they didn't spill the water, and then make sure they got water.
Yeah. I with my pits, I always give them a nice little. I touch them. I gotta touch them. I'm one of those guys. I make sure the pits aren't losing too much weight, because with that metabolism, gaining the weight back can be tough. And then I make sure everybody's got crystal clear half a cup of water. They're the deli full of water, and everybody's got to have that. And so yeah, like you said, it may be a hydration thing. But dude, I mean, I'm 50, 55 degrees in my closet where I'm brumating, maybe 60. But I've never opened up that closet and not seen snakes moving. Right, they're active. They're doing stuff. But yeah, I had a couple of sheds. But so yeah, I'm not waiting for sheds at all with the corns. I don't even know which one shed. That kind of sounds shitty. I should know, but when I've got a tub full of females and I've got 2 sheds in there, I'm just like, I don't know which one of y'all.
You don't know which one? Yeah. Makes sense.
So
that was something I did for the first time this year with brumation. Was I ended up with less tubs than I had last year, because I usually put them into either I have the lids for the tubs they're in, or I have separate tubs, and I was somehow short, and so I ended up putting, I think, 2 pairs of females and brumated them together. There was a pair, like two bears females, 2 corn females. And I know, like, Westmoreland, like he brumated some in groups and stuff like that. But for some reason, I was like, this just feels weird.
Yeah. Well, my Chinese beauties and all my Pitiophis, I brumate in pairs in 1.1s. And I've done that the last, I guess, 4 years with success. I don't remember who it was. Van K7, the guy that used to be. I think he got a little bit out of breeding, but he used to always talk about Florida Kings and Pitiophis and breeding them. He was on Facebook a lot, and he brumated everything in pairs, even Florida Kings, which terrifies me.
That's scary.
Brave.
But yeah, he brumated everything in pairs. So I was like, well, Pitiophis aren't going to eat each other, and my Chinese beauties aren't going to eat each other. So I'm scared of the damn corn snakes breeding in brumation, because that's some dumb shit a corn snake would do. The male would just be like, you know what, we're just going to do this now.
Yeah, well, I'm not waiting.
Yeah, it's stuck.
Yeah,
cold and stuck. Yeah.
How many meals do y'all go before you start putting them together? How many meals do you like to get into yours before you?
Hog noses, I'm doing probably 4, maybe 5. I'm doing them fast too. I like to once you get them started, not in the beginning. You want to go slow, small meal, maybe a week or so apart, and then I start every 3-4 days. I'll hit the females, not the males. I don't care about them. Start hitting them real hard with the food, and that just sends them into. They know what time. They know what time it is. Basically, I think food cycling. You can do a lot with food cycling as well.
I totally agree. I have a big thing that I do, and I've been doing it the last couple of years. Leading into brumation, everybody's like, I feed heavy before brumation. I feed heavy before brumation. And I'm like, no, I don't feed heavy before brumation. The 2 months before brumation, my snakes are eating like every 10 days. But that summer...
Mine aren't even eating that much.
Yeah, every 2 weeks, depending on the species, yeah.
I continually slow it down. Yeah.
And I ramp that down from summer, where I'm feeding weekly, and then I start ramping it down. Boom, 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 boom. And the temps naturally drop just because it's 115 degrees last year outside. My house is going to get hotter, right? I can't maintain 72 or 74 degrees in my house. I just can't. So but it's naturally going to start cooling as temps outside start hitting highs in the low 90s, high 80s. My room will start going down to 72, 74, 75 degrees. And that's what I know. Hey, time to start cutting back on females. The big delineation on that is some species don't rebound quickly after laying eggs. My black pine snake, every snake looks like shit after it lays, right? Like they all do.
Right.
My black pine female just didn't rebound well. So what do? Well, you don't brumate her, you don't breed her the next year, right?
Yeah. I had a hog nose that I do that last year with. Yeah.
And so for me, if I have a couple female corn snakes that didn't rebound to my liking over my heavy feeding progress, some of them won't feed after laying. You get that kind of post lay shed, right? They go kind of back into that shed cycle. They don't want to eat, or they're being picky. Maybe they ate this week, but they didn't eat next week. That female's not breeding next year. I'm just not going to do it. But back on Justin's original question, taking them out of brumation, I kind of have the same routine for almost every species. Now, my cold stuff is still brumate. So my cold stuff is, it's locked in for 4 months. But my stuff that I brumate here at the house, it's almost every animal. I don't care if it's a 5.5 foot Janai or a Chinese beauty or a corn snake. You're coming out once you've gone through your 1 week or so of coming back to room temperature. I'm putting you in. You're getting a couple days at tub temperature, whichever that is for each species, and then boom, you're getting a wrap up. 3 days later, you're getting a fuzzy. 3 days after that, 4 days after that, you're going to probably get another, maybe a hopper. And then we're going to see how that poop looks when it comes out. You're probably going to have a very specific looking poop. You kind of get that. They always look like a log. that first crap after repeated feedings, you get that real actual human turd shaped poop. And I'm like, all right, here's a mouse. It's usually their fourth feeding. Females usually look great, and boom, start pairing. And then I'll feed them. I don't care if they're in pre-lay shed. I'll feed them. Just small meals.
Small, fat, more often.
Oh, rat pups. Rat pups aren't
great
for that.
That's what I'm like now that I have those rats and they're producing like crazy. Like, I mean, I knew that aside from anything larger than weaned, I really don't need, because I don't have anything big enough to really eat anything that big. I mean, the Jansen, I could take a decent sized rat, but even then, like a full grown rat, I don't have anything that's even going to come close to eating that.
Yeah.
But I recognize that the pups are perfect for that kind of thing, because I got so many of those coming out now that it's like I'm completely okay with my adult corns just getting rat pups, pretty much forever.
Rats are super easy too.
Yeah. I wouldn't do just rat pups for males, just because they'll start getting probably fatty deposits, whereas females probably won't. But that's probably just actual protein content on it compared to fat content. But dude, my females, there's a local shop that started breeding mice, which is a heaven send for me, because I can't. I'm allergic to mice.
Of course you are.
Of course I am. Mice are happy. My females, after they lay, dude, after I've got a mouse in them, right? Like I know they're going to eat. I know they're not going to regurgitate. Because a female will lay, and sometimes it'll regurgitate its first meal. That happens every once in a while. Maybe that meal was too big. It was too aggressive on their stomach. Maybe they went off feed when they were gravid, which some females do. I'll get cups of pinkies, live pinkies. Oh my gosh. It was like it was the best. Dude, these females put weight back on immediately. Their feeding response was insane. my northern pines, we get 6.5 foot northern pine, and I'm putting a bowl of 5, 6, 7 rat pinks in there, and oh my god, they're gone in seconds. And these animals just put that weight back on, snap. So yeah, Justin,
That's
that's awesome.
I've switched that over with the rhino rats, because originally I was doing, like, my adults can eat hoppers reasonably. They could probably go a little larger if they wanted to, but I don't particularly like to feed them larger meals. I don't think they're really geared towards bigger, even adult rodents that are like fully furred stuff anyways. And talking to Rob Stone about it and whatnot, I've come to find that, like, give them 4 or 5 pinkies, give them a hand, like 3 fuzzies. I've had some of them will take rat pups, some of them won't. The female in particular doesn't seem to want anything to do with rats, but just like smaller, more frequent stuff, to where it's like if I'm feeding baby corns, like I'll usually thaw out a handful of extra pinkies and stuff just to give to the adult rhinos, and they do definitely seem to do better on that, like lots of smaller stuff, a little more frequently than larger meals. And I think they go through it just as fast as any other colubrid does. But I also doing the mouse cutting and stuff as well, that I'm I think that makes a big difference. And I'm really anxious to see with females coming out of laying and stuff, like helping them, talking about getting weight back on them and getting them back up to 0, if that the scoring of feeders and stuff sort of helps them bounce back.
I've never tried that. I've heard that multiple times, but I've never tried the scoring, the opening up of the rodent. It makes sense.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's definitely and I hope that study. I believe Loffman had talked about going further into that study at some point, or one of his students. I'm really excited to see what that kind of. I believe that there's nothing to prove out. It completely makes sense, and I believe it's been proven by multiple people. And Justin, you've had a lot of success with it. I keep thinking about doing it.
I say I'm going to, and then I end up having to sit on a clutch of babies for an indefinite period of time, and then it's usually like a time thing where it's like I got to feed stuff, but I also got to be somewhere in an hour, and so
it's a lot of babies to start slicing.
I mean, that is no problem, but it's also taking the time each week to weigh them all, chart all that, So I guess if
kind of prove it out,
it'd have to be a small sample size. And I talked to Dr. Hurley the other day, actually. I hit her up on Facebook, and she's the one who initially put out sort of that study on corns and doing that, and she's supposed to send me the document of it to put on the THN website at some point. I need to hit her up about that tomorrow, but I've said it before. I mean, that her sample size was small with that, but I feel like the results are really, really hard to argue when it's so blatantly obvious that it does something. Because she had the multiple groups. She had the groups that had no cuts. She had the group that had 1 cut, 2 cut, 3 cuts. And there's a very clear difference between all of those groups. And the one that had the 3 cuts or 4 cuts, like they did way better in terms of growth than all the other ones. It's hard to argue with those results. And I too want to do it myself again, or recreate it, but it's just a matter of buckling down and doing it.
I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, well, just doing it in general. And I'm like, all right, I got 100 pinkies thawed out. And then I'm like, okay, but I've got to boil 32 of these. I've got to put gecko scent on 4 of these. I've got to make sure that these 2 are completely washed. These 2 got to go in the tuna can. You're probably getting shoved down something's throat. And I don't even know why I have more than 99 pinkies when I only needed 99 and I counted out 100. I don't know what's happening anymore. So
that sounds very familiar.
Yeah, by the time that process is done, I'm just like, I'm not gonna cut anything. You're just you either eat or. So that's.
I cut everything. Doesn't matter what it's going to. It gets cut.
Even like adults, by chance.
Wow. Adults, really?
Anything.
What if you have like a live feeder? I don't know if that's a question you want to answer.
I don't know. Live feeders, that's a different story. Obviously, because I'm not.
I'll see that be a little morbid. I'm like. That's like even the bugs. People are like, yeah, squish the bug and like rub it on their face and they'll start eating. I'm like, but I don't want to squish the bug.
I did that with baby cresteds, man. You want to talk about getting them hooked on roaches? Like that was the only way I could get the ones to start getting on dubia was to do that, and it worked like $1,000,000. And as soon as it was like crack, dude. As soon as they got that taste,
first little bit,
oh my god! Like as soon as they figured out that movement meant dubias, they went nuts.
Huh. I just got my first crested gecko. So.
Oh really?
Baby.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
that was another thing that I did though when I had cresteds is I charted, like I weighed them each week, but then I had a group that started on dubia and a group that didn't, and I charted there because I weighed them weekly, and I put that in a graph or an Excel sheet and graphed it out. And the ones that started eating dubia, dude, same thing as the scoring of the feeders.
Oh, it's like, insane.
I mean, like the other ones would be fairly consistent but more plateaued, but dude, those ones, so you can see on the graph of the timeline when they started eating dubia because it's like a check mark. It just goes straight up.
That's
makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely like so with hognose. You know, I'm not off the corn snake subject a little bit. You know, troubled feeders. You got a pantheon of smells for them.
Oh, absolutely. You got your normal, your fish scents. You get your the little canned hot dogs, which is odd. They like those. No, the what are this? Vienna sausages.
Yeah.
Okay.
The juice in there that'll do it sometimes.
The best part, right? You drink that before you eat them.
Oof.
No, I'm kidding.
An older hognose breeder told me to do a toad dip. It's kind of graphic. I don't know.
Do it.
Yeah. You gotta you freeze the toad and then blend it basically.
Oh, okay.
That's like if they really won't eat.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that with lizards for chondros, and it works like $1,000,000.
I started making
or live. That live is they'll do the ones that won't take the scent will always take the live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one easily to grab, but what I started doing is I guess with the toad, it would kind of like you have to like cut its leg off or something. But I made little tinctures with different lizards' tails. I had a spiny lizard tail, desert banded geckos, which I've produced a few of, and I cut off their tails. Well, I don't cut off their tails. I mean, you just you look at them wrong and they drop their tail. And I take the tail and I put it in like a 1.5 ounce deli cup of water, and I get the water almost boiling warm, right? And I put them together and I kind of muddle the tail in there, right? And I spin it, and then I get it and I let it sit at room temperature for a little while. I toss it in the freezer, and I've been using that different lizard flavors on my Alterna and Leonis and stuff, and like shockingly, it's worked. I have never had to put a part of a lizard onto a mouse to make it eat. Not saying that doesn't work. Obviously, tried and true, and I have never produced more than 20 or 30 tough feeding species. This year may test me. I've got a lot of pairs going, but future times, right? But the toad slurries, what you may start being able to do is take your toad slurries and instead of let that toad really expand out, make tinctures out of that, and mix it with warm water and have 5 or 6 delis instead of just one, and spread it out, because I don't think it takes a ton of that.
I don't think it does either.
Smell.
No.
And also usually you wash the pinky first, or boil it first, or wash it before you boil it, or then boil it and then wash it, or whatever. There's a million different thoughts on that.
I actually have 2 different types of tongs. So to get them off of it, I use the dirty tongs, and just the smell off the dirty tongs will get them to feed.
Okay.
And then once you get them to do that, then usually the next time they'll take a regular pink.
We don't hit on it too much because it doesn't come up too often. What's your go-to for tough feeding corn snakes? There's always like one a clutch.
Boiled, yeah. You usually have one a clutch boiled. That usually does it, or washed, or king snakes.
Just four.
It's a corn snake, like get with the program, or I got king snakes that are being jerks that don't want to eat. So, boiled always works though. Boiled.
Yeah, I have yet to have to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
boiled that hasn't worked?
No, I haven't done it. Like, I haven't had a need to. Even the F1 stuff
Really?
that I've produced is like right out the gate.
Huh.
It's important to feed them as soon as they shed. I think don't mess around. Don't give them a week. The corn snakes, as soon as they shed, even if they're about to shed, the next day, put the pinky in there.
The Matt Most and Zach Hoffman did an episode on feeding, and everybody should listen to that. But I started going to the school of Matt Most. If it's Tuesday and I'm feeding babies on Tuesday and you hatched on Monday, I'm going to try to feed you. And damn it works, right? Like, well, I'm pretty sure most pine snakes will eat while they're in the egg, which is kind of
that's nice.
Yeah, but no, I'm with you, man. If I have a corn snake that just doesn't want to eat, I mean, 21 times out of 22, boiled will work for me every time.
I've found braining works for me with some of the ones that might be a little bit more difficult. And since I've already got the razor out because I'm scoring pinkies anyways,
Yeah, there you go.
That's true.
There you go. And hognose is actually dipping them in water and letting them drink off of the pinky. That works. I haven't got no other species will because hognose will come right up to it and kind of just sniff it and then they won't eat it.
Yeah.
But if you can get them to drink water off the tip,
and they're done.
A lot of times they'll open their mouth and you can just shove it in there.
They're just like, look, more water.
Yeah, it's basically what it is, but it works. It's time consuming, but it works pretty well.
I'd love to know your boiling process. I've got two, and I know people have asked this before. We've never really talked about the boiling process on the show. So how do you go about boiling pinks?
I have a cup, my pinky tea cup.
Yep.
And then I just boil water on the stove. I pour it into the cup and I walk it up steps. And by the time I get up there, they're pretty much ready to go. I just get them out before because they get gross. Can't let them go too long. Yeah. 20 seconds maybe. I don't know how long it takes me to walk up the steps.
Don't want them getting rubbery.
Yeah, exploding.
Exploding.
If you boil too many, to walk up the steps, by the time you get the last one out, it's exploded.
Their stomach explodes and the little intestine comes flying out.
It's disgusting.
I do almost the same thing. My up the steps is about 14 feet. But I have a black ceramic cup that's microwave safe. I fill it up about 3/4 of the way with water. I stick it in the microwave for 2.5 minutes, or until I see it bubbling, which is about 2.5 minutes. I get it out while it's boiling. I walk it to the room. But I've started doing a cup of clean distilled water. I don't know why. We have really shitty water here. Aaron Brockovich has come to Corpus before. Huge shout out to Aaron Brockovich. She's my homie. Her and Julia Roberts. Julia hit me up. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you, but I know she listens to the podcast. So, but yeah, I'll have my thawed out pinks. Now I do start with thawed out pinks. I've heard of people starting with frozen pinks, but I start with mine completely thawed and dried.
Oh, okay.
Do you start with frozen?
Frozen, yeah. I throw them right in frozen.
See, some people do frozen. I thaw mine out, and what I do is I'll actually hold about 5 in my. I have long tongs, and I'll put about 5 in there because if I touch them with my fingers, I might die. And I hold them in there for 5 seconds, pull them out, and then drop them into the cool distilled water. And I pull mine out, and I let mine completely dry. And that's been my go-to method. But I've heard of a lot of people doing the frozen method. I kind of want to try that because it'd be really cool to not wait till they thaw out.
Yeah, it's just faster. I think is why I started doing it. And I take them up there and I take them out, put them on paper towel, and I just throw them in there. They're still warm. Like the first one that's getting thrown in there is probably hot. Yeah. And then by the time I've gotten through everybody, I don't mess around too much with the. I don't know, like you said, the corn snake. What's that?
Doesn't have time for games.
No, I don't. Not especially not from corn snakes. Like they need to get with the program and get with it quick. And they do. That's the best part about them. You have a clutch of 20, you throw 20 pinkies in there, and then 20 are gone. And you do that 4 times, and they're ready to sell. Yeah.
And then you just hold back all 20 because you're obsessed.
And then, of course.
and then you start realizing that it's $1 billion a year in pinkies, and it's like, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I see some of these guys, and they're buying they'll buy 30 female corn snakes at 2022, babies. I don't think they realize how many babies they're going to get in 3 years,
or 4 years, or 5 years, or that one female that didn't grow fast, and
it's like 20. Just take 20 times 1 times 2. You're gonna going to go from 0 hatchlings to 250 or 350 real quick.
If you don't have a plan to sell that many animals, right? I'm going to jump into this.
Mhm.
I'm going to come in. I'm going to have even, let's say, 10 pairings, right? And you know, you're obviously seasoned this. I've seen pictures on your page. You vend shows. You're in a great area for vending shows, right? There's a lot of really good shows in Pennsylvania, and so I don't think people really contemplate that too often. They're like, I'm going to get in the breeding game. I'm going to get 3 female palmettos. I'm going to get 2 female scaleless. I'm going to get 5 males. Now I've got 5.10, which is a great group. I'm going to invest maybe $5,000-$6,000. Probably get animals like that for that much money. I'm going to raise them up. Maybe you bought yearlings. Maybe you bought adults. Cool. And then you produce 130, 150 snakes, 10 clutches of corns, about 150 snakes. And you stop and go, okay, but now I've got to create a name for myself to start selling these damn things.
Yeah.
And, regardless of the feeding, okay, you planned on feeding 150 snakes. You bought your bags of pinkies. You know exactly how many babies you've got to feed. Good. But now you got to sell them.
Yeah.
And you can't just hand them out at shows because you've invested $5,000-$6,000. You've invested years of your time. You've invested thousands of dollars in mice, right, to keep all this going. You've invested, tens of thousands of dollars of your own time, right? Years of progress. And then now you've got to recuperate something that looks like $30,000, $40,000 over a period of a couple years. And you have exactly zero audience to sell these animals, regardless of how active you are on social media, because you've never sold snakes before.
Right.
And how many people have we gotten to, I got to ask my wife, how much is that? And then you tell them, and then you just literally, they don't even exist on this planet anymore.
Yeah.
Or, nobody understands how, and that's why I don't sell too many animals. I just send them to Justin. I'm like, these are yours now. I love breeding animals. I love producing animals. I vend 2 shows a year, and I love sending animals to my friends. That's my favorite thing to do. But yeah, selling animals is very difficult, regardless of how good the market is. Yeah,
it's hard work. It really is. Hey, you gotta get a wholesaler when you're looking at that many animals. You're not. Yeah. If you've got a full-time job and you got 200 animals to sell, like that, that's a lot.
You're planning on producing 400 to 500 animals this year if you've got that many pairings, if not more.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm hoping over 500. Yeah, I was shooting for 400 last year, and I was a little shy.
And you've got to live in an existence where the economy crashes and you keep 500 babies, right? Which is just something that we have to understand right off the bat. Let's say 100 of them are easy sales. Right, snow condas, snow corns, shockingly easy to sell. Snow corns are just like, I can't keep them. I can't put them on my table at a show without somebody grabbing every single snow corn I produce for $100 to $125. But some of the, your peppermint stripes, peppermint Tesla stripes.
Yeah, they sell great.
They sell great, but maybe we have a cinder caramel, which out of the egg isn't a striking animal, isn't something that's that inducive to a quick sale, and it's easily $150 animal, maybe even more now. Depends on how the economy goes, and it's people don't understand how hard you're going to work for that $150 sale, $200 sale.
Yeah,
and that's like you're saying, talking about going full time. It is full time plus.
Oh, absolutely. No.
Did you
it's
notice
easier than landscaping though?
Pain in the ass.
Did you notice a pretty big difference in terms of people buying over lockdown versus sort of now? If things did you see that explosion of can't keep anything on morph market for longer than a day? Before.
A little bit. Ball pythons, absolutely, 100%. Like it was night and day. Even this year, beginning of this year, like March of last year, ball pythons flying off the shelf. End of the year, not so much. Corn snakes are like steady Eddie. They always they're not the fast sellers, but they're just going down the line. They're consistent. They're sell. You make a profit. They weren't really affected. The hog noses are hard for me to tell because I had so many more and so much better. That my sales increased when everybody was talking about sales decreasing. I was kind of like, I'm not. They're not decreasing for me. So it's hard for me to say, but certainly the ball python market just they that just dumped. It was, and it feels like it's coming back. It feels like people are starting to buy again, and they're not so
I think
worried.
that ball python market kind of paralleled crested geckos, gargoyle geckos, kind of your man. But I'm with you. Corns, every corn I kind of posted. Again, I didn't post much, but corns at shows, dude. Corns at shows sell so.
Corns at shows,
well.
Yeah.
They're a great show seller, especially in that like $75 to $150 range. Which I mean, you walk away from a show selling 10, 20 of those, and you feel pretty good. You know, guards. What kind of guards did the same thing? I was selling $300 to $600,000 guards. I couldn't even post them fast enough. I'd post something, it'd be sold. I'd bring it to a show. I had a guy come up and buy damn near my whole table, $5,000 right there, and it's like, wow, okay, this is wild. And now guards are still maintaining value, right? They've still maintained their value. People are still paying those prices, but it's a lot harder to sell. And that market waxes and wanes. And I see that with the ball python guys at the local shows. They kind of are saying the same thing. The guys that on Sunday when they're packing up barely had any snakes left. Now they're packing up on Sunday. I'm like, man, you got mostly a full table. And so, but there's certain things that sell every time with ball pythons. Your pieds, your albinos, your leucistics. Well, I guess all your different white version of snakes.
Your bells, bananas, pieds. Yep. Yeah. It's funny. Nobody wants to make them, and I'm just like, I'll make them.
Bananas sell great. Yeah, everybody I see it. They got banana ball pythons, and I don't even know how that morph works, and maybe. We're derailing a little bit into ball pythons, but hognose are kind of the same thing, dude. Albino hognose, snow hognose, super conda hognose. You can't keep those. I can't imagine. It's
especially albinos because the price point is real nice on the albinos. You're in that 250 to 350 area, and they fly off the shelf. The snows are a little bit more expensive, so they take a little while, but you're talking $500, $600, $700 for
damn good sale.
Snow. Yeah.
It's a good sale.
Absolutely.
And I think corns are the same way. You know, Tessera snows, sun-kissed Tessera snows, stuff like that, sitting on your table for $150 to $200.
Yeah.
They fly, man. They people love that. Snow, sun-kissed snow. Even start getting into your honeys. I mean, honeys sell ridiculously well. And it's harkens back to that. Like, me and Justin both we kind of have a split between locality and morph stuff. And some of that locality stuff's a little tougher of a. It's funny, that stuff sells really well online. It doesn't sell online shows,
yeah.
But it's kind of, you reach a broader audience and people kind of know. Well, not that many people have. Well, I don't think anybody has Lady Island's corns that they're actually producing other than Justin right now.
No.
So, but you go to a show where there's 5 tables with corn snakes and you have a couple normals for $75 to $100. It's tougher sell. So
that's a tough sell for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what is do you have a projected timeline on going full time, or is it right now kind of just a twinkling?
I'd like to keep the W-2 job. Like, I'm going part-time this year. I'm going 3 days a week with option to go 2 days a week. When I start having 2-day shows, like I got some in Rhode Island, Virginia Beach, where I'm traveling. I need a little bit of time because you got to take care of the collections.
Right.
So I'd like to keep it till another 2-3 years. Keep it part-time. It's nice because you get the W-2 with the taxes. It's nice to have a W-2 coming in. I'd like to actually buy my neighbor's house if they'll ever sell it. And it would be nice to have a W-2 job to do that.
Yeah. It definitely helps. It's very hard to explain to a credit bureau when you're trying to get
I sell snakes.
I really do have money. Well, you're going to pay cash. I'm going to do payments for about 15, 20 years, maybe 30 years. I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to turn that into a snake house is my plan.
Yeah.
So I'd like to keep it till I can buy that. I'm hoping they move out. I'm going to have to start leaving hints here. Another year or so.
Couple gunshots every
show up,
Sunday night about 9
tell them to get out. Yep.
Get out.
And run outside and be like, I don't know what that sound was. What did y'all hear that? I don't feel safe.
Right? They're really nice too. I have no, they're the best neighbors, but
I want them gone. They're the best, but I want them
right.
gone.
Yeah, they need to leave. They really do. No, but the tax write-offs for if it's all snakes, it's all write-off. So I'm paying for a house with tax-free money. You can't. How can
Feels
you
good.
lose there? You know.
Yeah.
So, and then I can expand as well. Then you really get into numbers then.
Once you start space is so valuable.
It
and
is.
People don't realize that in this hobby, and especially we had Mr. Westmoreland on here, and you talking about full-time snake breeding, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. The viability of having actual space just to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can stack cages as high as the eye can see. I have I have limited space now. I'm supposed to be building a room. It literally just didn't happen. But personally,
my room is tiny and it sucks.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even want to keep that many more animals. It would just be the space, the volume of area to move around, to feel freer. You feel less cramped. The animals feel less cramped.
The biosecurity, you can keep species away from each other.
So much easier,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like right now I have hatchling room and an adult room, which makes it's nice when you go on the shows. You bring something back. It's it's a way. I might have a bad year, but I'm not gonna have a bad 5 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I've got that, man. I only do those 2 shows a year, and every time I take stuff to a show, I don't want to bring anything home.
Yeah,
and I hate that feeling of wholesaling animals, but sometimes at the end of the day on Sunday, I just don't want to bring it back.
I don't mind it at all.
No, I don't mind wholesaling at all either. As long as the price point's right.
Yeah, that's also true.
And you got the inventory. You got to have the inventory.
Yeah. And it's also
if you're down to zero, then that's no good.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's a funny thing it shows, and I'm glad we're kind of talking about that. There's like a price point. If you go a 2-day show and you don't sell anything, and somebody comes up to your table and offers to buy everything, almost every time you're selling everything so that you could pay for the show, you could get home, you got gas, you got money in the bank. But then there's like, I only sold 3 or 4 animals, but I paid for the show, but I got $100, $500 in my pocket. I'm gonna take this stuff home. And then there's that, like, I did really well at the show. I've only got 10 to 20% of my animals left. I'm gonna get rid of the rest of them. I'm gonna go to Vegas. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's a weird little thing that happens at vending shows, and as my daughter gets older, I'll probably find myself vending more shows out of town. Maybe try to do Daytona or Tinley or Arlington. That's a human resources kind of thing. Like, right, I can't just leave my family and vend a show and do all the preparation before, all the preparation after. But
can't or won't?
I won't leave them behind. Yeah, I can't. It's tough.
It's a lot of work too. That's vending a show that takes it out of you. You do a few of those in a row, and you're working full time.
Yeah. I don't get the not working 50 to 100 hours a week, right? Like, that's going to happen regardless. So
right,
and that's as we progress through our lives. But yeah, no, being your age and going, like you said, having that opportunity to go full time and looking at buying another house and stuff. It's a good place to be, and I hope that continues on.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it seems to. I was talking to my CPA about it. He's like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." That's what he said. So
that's another. You just hit a great point. CPAs, financial advisors. That's a great thing for people to have in this hobby.
Yeah,
that's always been the biggest disconnect, I think, for the people that do it full time versus people that are just part time or hobby. They do it as a hobby, and it's that, like, for me, it's the logistics. Like, yeah, you can look up online what you need to do to start a business, and that's great and all, but usually that's for businesses that aren't like necessarily seasonal in terms of what they have to sell, and it's more steady income. So, like, for me, it's always been like, I've contemplated going full time. Like, I've even mentioned to my wife, because she works. Like, at one point I was like, I think I do want to do it full time, but then it was just the idea of, like, how do you go about doing that to where you have, like, your sales and stuff are consistent and steady and not.
Well, they're never going to be that.
Yeah.
You need to be in a position where it doesn't matter.
No comment.
It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, that makes sense.
It doesn't matter. You can have a bad month and it doesn't. You're good.
You're selling this year's snakes for next year's money, right?
Yeah.
You're planning 2024 as you sell 2023.
Absolutely.
it's and that's that financial advisor, CPA, somebody backing you up. Justin, you've got all the fortitude and the capability of doing it. But Adrian, I think it's a great point. You are not working for right now. You're not living check to check anymore. You're living year to year. It's a cyclical hobby, right? This hobby will never be anything other than cyclical, and it'll also sway based off of politics. Look at what we're going through with. And I'm not talking about like actual like politics, us and each other. I'm talking like animal politics, right? Look at all the different things that are going on with the intrusion into the hobby, allowance and non-allowance, state-dependent situations. You know, if Daytona, one of the biggest reptile shows, if some of these laws keep getting passed, is Daytona even going to exist anymore? Right. You've got people that only vend Daytona, and if you look at some of these
from
guys
all over the country vending. Daytona. Like
absolutely.
Like the moment it gets more difficult for them, I don't think they're going to make that a priority each year. You know, and it's I don't think it's going to take much for that to be the case.
Yeah,
because it's like
Florida's crazy. I don't understand what
coming
it is.
from like Montana or something, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, you can't sell hog noses." How many vendors are going to be like, "Okay, like saves me like Daytona's fun, but this is also going to save me a ton of expenses as far as travel and stuff." To where it's like, no, I don't have to deal with it.
See you guys in Tinley, or you know what, Morph Market's doing great. I'll just sell online. And that's that consistency, and it's difficult. We're in an age and time where our voices are quiet, but they are being heard, and for us to all be able to get involved and also promoting safekeeping, promoting safe hobbying,
absolutely
pushing people away from the social media extravaganza. This is not safe, healthy keeping. Me and Justin talk about this all the time. We constantly see people doing egregious things to get clicks and likes and views.
Carnival,
sure, that's
a circus.
It's a circus. You're right.
It is a circus. It is.
And then Adrian, you're sitting here seeing stuff like this going on and going, "That's my livelihood. This is what I'm trying to do full time. This is what I'm trying to make a living off of." And these guys are fucking it up, right? And it's usually you're talking about less than 1% of the hobbyists, right?
Right.
Less than 1%, and they're doing a damn good job of screwing it up. And so it's don't go out and tell those people what to do, because that's not our job. People can do whatever they want.
They won't listen.
But teaching keepers and young people and our future hobbyists and current hobbyists to, hey, that's really cool. That's cool that you sent me that link. But I'm going to tell you this one thing. That's not a good thing to promote. That's dangerous. And maybe they'll tell their kids. Maybe they'll tell their neighbors. Maybe they'll tell the next person that sends them a link. So
I have coworkers that do that. They're like, "Check out this video on TikTok," and I'll look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, that guy's an idiot." I'm like, "Why?" And I'll explain it to him. I'm like,
"Right,
because this isn't like, if you think this is what I do when I go home, like,
that
ain't it. Like, it's so that ain't from it. That, it's just
I had a lady in her 70s, beautiful Marjorie, sweetheart, came up to me. I had a table of corn snakes and geckos, and she was like, I really want to get a snake. And I was like, okay. Her husband had passed. She's like, I just want a snake. She's like, I'm going to pass it on to my grandkids, actually. She's like, but I want a snake for, maybe the next 5-10 years. So I was like, okay. And she was like, what kind of a snake you seem outgoing? I was like, yeah, I suggest a corn snake. I was like, I have a couple a little bit larger corn snakes. I think it's a great animal. Let me get this one out. You can hold it. And she's like, wow, this is really cool. And she's like, the reason I want a snake is I saw this guy online that has these reticulated pythons. And he brings these giant animals out. They got all these eggs, and and she's like, I see him on the Instagram all the time. And I was like, well, I don't think that's what you want to do. And she was like, no, that seems so dangerous. She seems so ignorant to just be in that situation where you could be bodily harm. And she's like,
hope.
And this old lady bought a corn snake from me. And about every 6 months, she calls me to tell me how this corn snake's doing. And I'm just so, there's stuff like that. But at the same time, I've had so many kids that have gotten corn snakes from me or geckos and stuff. And where they come from. My daughter, she gets on YouTube and she loves snakes and stuff. And I'm like, Lily, you're not watching that. She's like, oh, Dad, why not? And I'm like, because that's unsafe. I was like, what do? We put gloves on. Well, I put gloves on. She puts gloves on too because she's cute. But I'm like, when we open tubs, how do we open them? She's like, oh, well, we use the hook even with the little snakes to make sure that they're not hungry. I'm just teaching her. And then she's like, we make sure we support the belly, and we make sure it's a snake that's not fussy. And if something is fussy, we just, so there's.
And most importantly, we're retaining brain cells.
We're also not doing literal meth, right? And so
It's always good.
It's, 10 out of 10, highly suggest not to.
Right.
Do you have a particular process in terms of choosing holdbacks? That's something I'm always curious to ask people, because I'm always wondering if like some people are like, whatever the nicest one of the clutch is, maybe the darkest one of the clutch, the lightest one, I'll hold on to those. But I'm always curious if there's people that have more of a formula.
There's always the hat band test. That Kathy Love, I believe, or her husband, talked about that. The prettiest ones for sure. And then I try to. I have clutches that I'm producing. Might sound bad, but like I'm doing albino to albino and hognose. I'm doing that to fund.
Yeah, no, I mean,
everything.
Reality when you're in that position, like you got to.
So I'm doing those to fund the other stuff. Like I'm doing the Mercury to the Sable. So I'm making triple hets that I might find someone to buy for a ridiculous amount of money, but probably going to keep the whole clutch. That's probably what's going to happen. Or I'll sell the excess males off as just normals. So the holdback is hold back as many hog noses as you can. Get the really nice, pretty corn snakes, and make sure most of them are female. That's pretty much it. And I've built most of my collection. I haven't bought most of my collection. I've built. Obviously you have to buy, but like I might probably spend a couple $1,000 a year on snakes. And for a collection this size, that's nothing. People spend obscene amounts of money on snakes, and I never have. I've just spent $2,000 a year. Next year I spent $2,000 more, and just keep holding back the best looking ones. And pretty snakes make pretty snakes.
That linear growth again.
Yeah.
Pay your dues. Take your time. If you're gonna do this full time, put in 10 years, if not more.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah.
And make sure you're ready for it. That's a damn good point.
No.
Yeah, those triple het clutches, man. I've got a couple of clutches I'm doing this year that are just like big, just head on head, or just stuff like that. And I'm like, man, maybe we just keep all of them.
Keep all of them.
Just gotta keep them all. I'm so bad. I'm bad. I don't want to sell anything, so I just send it to Justin. I'm like, Justin, you just keep what you want, right? And
right.
He keeps. Justin, I sold you 20 snakes this year or something, 22, something like that.
I didn't even count.
And you were all, which ones do you want me to keep? I was like, all keep them all. They're all good. These are all awesome.
But I can't.
Yeah, that's the tough part is you can't keep them all. And of course I don't. I plan on you not keeping everything, but
I'm big on keeping good eaters. Like even if it's the right morph, even if it's exactly what I need, if it's being a pain in the butt, I don't want it.
Yeah,
it's not. It's just going to make more pain in the butts if I can actually get it to breeding size.
I totally agree.
Who needs that?
You get that pain in the ass feeding, sell it. You know what I mean? Make sure it's eating consistently. We're not going to sell a snake that's not eating. But those don't make good breeders. It
breaks your heart when you have to do it. It'll break your heart. You're trying to, you know how hard it is to make this morphin, and you make it, and it's just, 6 months later, you're like, I'm just gonna get rid of this thing. It's not working.
Yeah, and like you said, some of your corn morphs are 3-4 morphs, and it's really hard when you hit that morph. Right? I mean, I bet this is probably a $300 or $400 snake, and you're like, yeah, but you got to stay here now. It's tough.
Yeah. That was a big mistake when I first started, was selling stuff that I should have kept.
Yeah,
for sure. Holdbacks. You got to hold back. You sell your garbage. You don't sell your good stuff. Like I think a lot of new breeders they want to make money, or they want to look, look like that. Look what I made. Yeah. No, you keep that at home. That stays home.
Yeah,
I've done that. It makes you mad.
That's something I've been, as far as like holding back more than I have. Mutton was on Morelia Python Radio recently, and he was talking about, if you're trying to do the line breeding thing, he's like, you don't build that by only keeping a single or two animals from a clutch. Like you have to really be prepared for the long game and like hold on to more of them. And really with the Ladies Island stuff, I think I gave Jake a pair, but it ended up being 2 males, so I got those back and gave him one of the females. So I've got like 2.1, I think, of those in the F1s. And it's one of those things where if I did those again, I probably would hold on to more of them long term because there was more variation than I was expecting, color wise with some of those clutches that I got. But it's also that thing where it's like space too, because it's the same with chondros. Like really, you don't want to just sell all your chondros out straight out the gate when they have so much changing to do. Because then you end up selling that one animal out of the clutch that ended up being just something so completely far off from everything else.
Yeah,
but you would have known that at the time. Which I mean, isn't necessarily a bad thing because like Bill Stiegel says it perfectly. He's like, that's almost the best advertising you can have because then someone else, raises up that animal.
Be right back.
Stellar, and they want to know where who produced that, where to come from. So it's not horrible. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but in terms of like with the Ladies Island stuff, I should have held on to more, I think, than what I did with that first clutch.
Dude, that Tessera from you.
The ones I still have from that.
Oh my god,
2 or 3 Tesseras.
Those are some of the best looking corn snakes I've seen progress.
They're looking good.
How are they getting so pretty? It's like the Tessera I have. I have the Ladies Island male, and he's gorgeous snake. But dude, I look at that Tessera and I'm like, there's no way that this came from. You know what I mean? And it's that's part of it. That anery that you got from Jake that I produced, dude. I have clutch mates of that animal.
He's not going anywhere,
and they don't look anything like that. Nothing like that. And I don't have any. That's that same yellow thing that I got going on with a couple of those other animals. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea where that's coming from. And it's just corn snakes.
It's
right?
still just it blows my mind that that's an anery.
Yeah,
like you look at that, and you have anybody guess what that is, and I bet you 8 out of 10 people would not say anery.
And that striped male that I got, Midas, he's just every shed more and more yellow. He's actually in the tub right now with his snow sister, and it's like she's the same way. 3/4 of that snake is yellow. Where did that? And I know there's.
Is it the halo? Is that what we're talking about?
It's not halo. It doesn't come from any lines that I know of that are halo, and it doesn't. Halo doesn't perpetrate itself, as far as I know, outside of snow. And so what happened is I've been producing these aneries. It's a very simple pair. It's a SMR Ultramel Motley Tessera Het anery boy, and he goes to a anery female that is, stock standard. Every anery looks like this, and she's Het Sunkiss, Het Hypo, Het Amel, and and Het Stripe. So she's Het Stripe. The male is Het Stripe Motley. So I get stripes and Motleys out of the clutches, and like 1 out of 7 or 8 that I've kept track of these animals gets, and it's so funny. You would never be able to tell when they hatch. Absolutely would never be able to tell. And the first year, you kind of can't even tell. And then something happens at about a year old, and these things look like they were dipped in yellow paint.
Oh.
And it's like half the body of the snake. And it's something in the lineage. There's something in there going on. And it's probably a deep dive we got to do with Sarah. Sarah Moore, she's, the goddess
She'd be the one.
Snakes. She'd be the one to tell us possibly what's going on. I know the lineage. Russell Southard produced the anery, right? SMR... name is blanking me. Produced the male. I have full lineage on both animals, right? Back to their original pairings, and it's like, but why does one? And so I held back a couple from their clutches, and I didn't breed them last year, but I took the son and went back to the mom last year to see what that does. And me and Justin both have a handful of those animals, and this year I'm taking the son and putting it to the sister that both have that kind of yellow thing going on.
Could be the point of mutation. That happens.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be that frequent, I would assume.
Well, yeah, I guess the point of mutation would have to be on both sides at that point.
This has got to be something decided out of the lineage, because it's also out of multiple clutches over multiple years, and it's just 1 or 2. But this snake that I sent to Jake, it looked like a stock standard anery. I sent him.
Yeah, it did.
I remember the pictures that I sent him before I sent it. And dude, you look at this thing now, and it's like that. It looks like a honey, but it's an anery.
It's weird. He's gonna be putting some work in.
Nice. That's the fun stuff.
That's the fun stuff.
I mean, that's the stuff I get the most excited about. You know?
Absolutely. That's what you do it for. You're you know, it's producing animals for pets and stuff like that, but you're doing it for that stuff.
In the end, we breed for ourselves.
It pops up. Well, of course.
Breeding. So, in your collection, is there anything you're hoping to add or planning to add?
I've recently had some house snakes. I forgot about that. I think
nice.
House snakes are gonna. I think they're gonna do something here.
They've been making a pretty big resurgence.
Lots of morphs.
Years, yeah.
Yeah, I picked up just a pair. Just kind of playing around with it. They breed in the wintertime too. I like that stuff. The tricolors, the file snakes, the house snakes. You can breed them in the wintertime and get eggs at weird times. It's nice, and they're basically colubrids. They're not, but
it also helps with that cyclical once you're full time, right? Like now you've got some eggs at some different times. Ball pythons, I don't even know when ball pythons breed, but I assume it's different than
all the time.
Yeah,
you can get it. I actually have eggs that are going to be hatching. Ball python eggs are going to be hatching here in about a week, and I'll have some laying. Yeah, you get them all times of the year.
What kind of house snakes did you get?
Just a T-negative albino and a head. So
cool. They always look like fun. I always wanted some of them and just never ended up in any of them.
They're like corn snakes. I can't tell you anything different. They're exactly like corn snakes.
They're a corn snake that bred with a python.
I've heard they're very.
They kind of have that python head looking.
Yeah, and they wrap everything all the way around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. They're extreme wrappers.
I had a pair that I had gotten in a trade, and I ended up when I got them, I was sending them off to somebody else. I didn't even keep them that long. But man, 5 or 6 times feeding them, dude, they bite, they wrap them all the way around. They're cute.
Yeah. Only thing that's worse is the Florida king snakes. I got a couple females that will wrap out of the bin. They fall out of the bin. They wrapped so much.
It's so funny that we me and all of us kind of poo poo on Florida kings a little bit here and there. They are kind of psychopaths, but God, look at those hypo mosaics when they hatch, man.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They're so. I think they're beautiful as adults too. They have a very.
I do.
They have a very specific look. They have that very soft umber tones. They get that kind of neat desert camo kind of look, but they still have those flecks of red and orange. They're gorgeous animals. But dude, as babies, they're so crazy.
They're striking. Yeah. At shows they stop people. They stop them. They never sell at shows. I always sell them online. They sell great. Like they sell like amazing. Like you get people from I had a guy from Tokyo asking me if I could send him something. Nice. I was like I don't got enough to send to Tokyo. I'm sorry, but but no one ever buys them at a show. But they stop. They stop. Like what is that?
What is that? Yeah.
What is
like,
that?
It's a Florida king, and they're like, oh.
Then they look at the price and they're like, "Oh, I don't want. No, that's way too much for a Florida king."
They look at it, and they do that little face, like, "Oh, Florida. Okay, well, Justin already told me about those."
That's exactly what it is.
So, no particular corn morphs that you're planning on adding?
Corn morphs. I haven't really thought about adding anything. I got mandarins in this year.
Yeah.
I really like those. I want to put them in Sunkist, of course.
They're so nice.
And test stripe.
I'm gonna be producing a ton of those in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Got those from Alan Rock,
cool.
Rock Creek. Cool. Yeah, he's a good guy. And I got some. My buddy Chris Troop sent me a pair of pie-sided blood red. One's hypo and one's granite. They're 66 het for each other. So we'll see how that goes. I like the blood red stuff for sure.
Granite is anery and charcoal. No, it's just
no.
And...
Blood red, diffuse.
Okay. Yeah. It's the compartment. It's pewter and granite. Okay.
Right.
Pewter's charcoal and then granite's
and they're both really nice pie-sided too. Like at first pie-sided was like I'd see it and I'm like, I don't know. But these are they're pretty high expression. Like they're coming up the sides, they're down the back of the animal. You're getting the. So
that's cool.
So that's what I'm working for sure with the blood red.
Blood red's so good. Dude, diffuse throw diffuse into everything. I want to see Castagna mandarin diffused. I don't think I've ever seen a diffused mandarin, and that's going to be cool because
Yeah.
What Mandarin does to so Mandarin, so everybody, and we need to break this down more because I've had people tell me. So albino Castagna, Castagna's, Justin and me are both huge fans of Castagna. It's a hypotype. It's got a very neat brown tone to it. Justin's become enamored with them. And then you throw albino onto it, and you get like the orangest snake you could possibly make.
Right.
Right.
And the ombre thing. The ombre thing is what gets me, where it's really striking, and then at the end it's white,
Yeah. And then now throw diffused on that, blow out the sides. What are those sides even going to do? Are they going to be kind of a white tone, or are they going to get that kind of soft orange while everything else has the deeper orange while that's cut through the white? And I think that'd be a cool thing to work towards.
Yeah,
Castagna the world.
That group
Castagna
of
the world
from Eric, they're all head AML, so
Nice.
Plenty.
Nice.
All the ingredients are there. Just got to get them up to size.
Yeah, I think time's going to show us that there was a few morphs that got left behind, specifically Castagna. We were.
If I have anything to say about it,
we were wrong to forget about those. So where do you see the hobby going as far as corn snakes, as far as morphs go? Where do you see the next few years? What do you think is going to start getting popular or less popular?
Less popular. No, I don't see anything getting less popular. I see some things going down in price. We're already seeing it with like palmettos and stuff like that. Like I can't believe how long that price is stuck.
Dude, they were $1,000 a baby for like 12 years.
Forever. Yeah. I got offered a pair like 10 years ago, a pair of hets for like $1,400. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm good.
And if you would have bought them, raised them up, and bred them, you would have sold every one of those babies for.
I know. I would. I would own my neighbor's house. I would already have owned my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
But
we thought. I mean, look back 10 years. I thought those things were going to be $400 or $300 in 3 years. Right? There's just no way.
Right, because there's not. I like them. I really do. I like the way they look, but I don't think there's anything you can do with them. There's nothing you can do with them. Everything you add to them.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Some of the Anarian caramel ones are badass. I think
they're all right, but you're taking away color. There's not a whole lot there to begin with.
Changing the color of the specks.
Yeah, like the gray, blue, red thing is cool with the white, and then I don't know. Sounds like corn snakes are they're always steady. They're always there's nothing that's. They're not going way up. They're not going way down. Nothing's. Certainly, Castagna is going to go somewhere.
I think so.
I'd like to see Buff go somewhere, but nobody cares about Buff. Nobody gives a shit about
Buff.
Another one,
man. Like
so good.
A buff AML Castagna. Now that's going to be orange snake.
Buff mandarins. That's a fucking real orange snake. Man.
Yeah, that's a real orange snake.
Now put Sunkissed on top of it. What do you get? It's never been done.
It's perfection right there, probably.
And what's funny is Buff, Sunkissed, Castagna, AML. You've got 3 modifiers sitting on top of AML, and people something about AML and corns. People think there's not enough depth to it, and I disagree. Look at the variance in AMLs, right? You're going to take Anery and put it on that animal, and you're going to get the same snow that every single snow looks like, with the exception of some variants of pink. Keep Anery out of that. But man, putting AML into that, I think you're right. That'd be.
Yeah. I keep way too much AML in my collection for sure.
It's good. It's good.
It is. I try to switch it up with the Ultramel. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultramel. Are there Ultramel Castagnas out there, Justin?
I think so.
Really? No, I don't think I've seen one.
I think someone had one on Morph Market recently.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. Oh man, and then just put Sunkissed in it. Everything I see, I want Sunkissed in it. I just see what happens.
Yeah. Sunkissed charcoals. Eric made. He had them posted for the longest time. I almost bought them. I never did. I should have. I like that combo.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He had those Castagnas on Morph Market, man, for the longest time, and they were like fresh baby pictures, so they kind of just looked like aneries.
Yeah.
Like really dark, nothing too descript, and I was like, "What are you doing with those?" He's like, "I don't know. You got any Bairds left?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I do." Dude, first shed when I got them, just blush. like the blushing just started coming out. And like, I don't know, I love that morph because of how like sort of subtle it is. For the most part, like that male I just got from Kasicki, like I wouldn't consider him like
pretty.
high expression, but you can tell he's not a normal. And even the variation I have from those babies I got from Eric, like I have some that are much paler and almost look like ghosts, and then I have some that have much more intense oranges on the neck and fade a lot. Like it's really interesting. Just I don't know, and I like sort of just the softness of it in terms of the look. I can't really put my finger on it. That's one that I think has been overlooked, or maybe people just didn't see a whole lot of potential in it. But
yeah, it's coming.
Mandarin's a pretty good, I think, example of that. It hasn't been done enough. Like there hasn't been enough time into it.
Absolutely. When I got my pair of mandarins from Alan, and I got them basically straight out of the egg. Like they had hatched like 4 days earlier, and he brought them to a show, and we made a trade, and they look like snows. That's what they look like. They look like snows. Like, and then they shed, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. They shed again. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Now they're like, it's like a highlighter in the first third of the body, and then it just gets whiter and whiter. You know, more and more white on the animal as it gets to the end. So.
Yeah, I have the little female I have from Chris. You know, every time she sheds, it's like it just gets more and more intense. You know, it's just wild. Like at first, I was like, yeah, that's nice, and then like the oranges just started getting brighter and brighter and brighter. I was like, oh my god. But I have my plan is I have the adult male that I just got from Mike Kasicki, and then he sent me another male last year that's a Castagna Motley that I'm planning to tie in to stuff this year, just to have some more heads and sort of have more available for stuff I want to do down the line. But yeah, man, that morph just it's one of those things, just like honey. You know, I love honey. That's another one of my favorites. Like I just want to put it into freaking everything.
Yeah, I need to get some of that in my life because it's a good combo, and I don't have it, and it's got sun-kissed in it, so I should have it.
Yeah. But Justin's doing a Castagna male to a Ghost Tessera female this year, right?
Oh,
that was the original plan, but I'm second guessing it because it's just a question of, do I want to throw Tessera in this early?
I mean, you're going to get triple heads. So,
like, basically, it's either do I pair that Castagna Motley male to that Ghost Tessera female, or to the original Ladies Island female.
You could do both,
and then just have het Castagnas.
Could do both.
I could do.
You're right.
But God, taking that Ghost Tessera female and putting her back to that Ladies Island male, we know what that produces, and that's a damn good pairing.
Yeah.
I'm voting both.
I'm cool with you doing both with that Castagna male and making a bunch of het Castagnas.
Well, I think the other option was, because I lost that pied blood red female, I have that male, and since that was sort of a particular bloodline that one person was working with for a very long time, and that pair was gifted to me, and like with the intent of me carrying it on, do I now sort of do what I can to preserve that bloodline and pair that male to one of these females? You know, I don't know. Like I had my plans, and of course, like I say, you know, announcing your plans is a good way to make God laugh.
It is.
You know, here I am, just after I warm everything up, you know, kind of trying to reevaluate what I need to do.
But it's difficult.
Yeah. It is.
It's tough. It's especially, and then that's one thing, you know, Justin, you've grazed over it, but losing animals in a collection that you have plans for, Adrian, you know this completely. Going full time, it's not a one. If you want to produce clutches of, you know, snow hoggos, right? Like we were just saying, great selling animal, makes a lot of money. 1.1 probably ain't going to do it. You know what I mean? You've got to have that backup plan. You've got to, and it's tough. You know, we look at this in two ways. We look at this as in light of hobbyists, right? All three of us are hobbyists, and we have our hobby projects, and we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with 4 snakes, 6 snakes, 8 snakes for a project. But, you know, Justin, you know, we also reinforce that idea. If you're really planning on a project and this is your set, this is your plan, this is your future, this is where I'm going in 10 years, it's, you know, it's so easy for 1.1 to just go.
Yep.
I've had females die egg bound. I've had females die right after laying. I've had males just me open up a tub and the fucker's dead,
Yep.
and it's and I've got a small collection. I'm probably still under 100 snakes, and it's
The thing I've learned is keep extra males, because there's nothing worse than having 3 females and your male gone. And now you're buying back into the project, or just now what do I do?
Yeah, it sucks, man, because that pied blood red pair was one that I tried last year and struck out on, but this year that was one of the pairs I was probably most excited, because it was just one of those things where it's like I really just need a clutch to be able to keep it going. Just need a clutch. Like, doesn't matter if it's
snakes,
small snakes. Like, I don't care. I just need something.
Yeah.
And now that's been set back severely. So.
Yeah, and when you're running numbers of breeding animals, you're gonna lose every year. I lose animals. I'm not ashamed to say that I lose animals every year.
We lose babies, we lose adults. If you have a collection of any size over, I understand. You got 5-6 snakes, you lose a snake, it's massive. Or geckos. I mean, any reptiles, that matter. Breeding goddamn any animal. People that breed.
Right? You breed an animal, and you're.
As we encompass the idea of life, we are sitting here on the idea that we all got to pay the tax, man. You know what I mean? Death is the only reason we have life in the first place. The only reason it matters. The only reason we enjoy it. The only reason we enjoy these animals, because at some point they're gone. Everything is limited. If they were going to live for 200 years, 500 years, or something like that, people ain't going to be breeding corn snakes, and it's a tough factor. And Justin, that's a big loss. And I know it hits you pretty hard, but I think you'll still have
to pivot.
Animals.
Yeah, you just have to pivot. That's all you can do is just pivot. Just look at what you got. Whether you got to spend some money or make some hets and breed back, you get your male back or your female back, and then.
I think it stings even more because, like I said, that pair was like sent to me as like, this is a specific line of like pied blood reds that someone has been working with for like over a decade, and we want you to have them and take that football and run with it, and it's like, okay.
There's a level of disappointment that you don't want to inflict on others, but Justin, you don't even sweat that, man.
No,
they know they wouldn't have sent them to you if they didn't think you were doing the right thing, and we all know you did. And fucking stuff happens, man. It's tough, but
I've killed enough chondros to where my balls are shin proof.
That's fairly easy. So
I say it all the time. I have killed thousands and thousands of dollars of Baja rat snakes. I have murdered those things without question, eating till the day they died. You know what I mean? So we've
tricolor hognose.
Dude,
breeding female. You're lucky if you get to 4 years.
I've heard they're fast and loose, man.
I mean, they already have shorter lifespans than most snakes.
Yeah, you're looking like breeding males. Like I had a male just die. The female died, and a couple months later, the male died. He was 6. This was his second female.
Wow.
But I haven't got
6 to 8 years, right? 6 to 8 years of life, and that's it.
If you're not breeding them. Yeah. The males, I'm sure males could get they're going to be ancient. Your females, I don't think you're getting past 4 if you're breeding them. Yeah. I really don't. Maybe 5.
And isn't that a snake that even if you don't brumate it, they're going to ovulate regardless?
Oh yeah. You have to cool them down to stop them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 3-4 clutches a year. I've heard wild things about them.
I had one female give me 90 eggs in one season.
Oh,
now hold on a sec. Now I bred her in the winter, late winter, so it was the beginning of the year. It would have been 2000. I want to say 19. So it was the beginning of 2019, and then cooled her off.
Yeah,
got 3-4 clutches out of her, cooled her off. Jeez. Went through the summer, started breeding her again, and she laid 3 clutches before the end of the season again. So I had 4 clutches at the beginning and I had 3
And I don't think anybody listening to this needs to take that lightly as if, you're going to produce a whole bunch of $300 and $350, $400 snakes. You also got to get them feeding.
They're a pain in the ass. They would they are a pain in the ass.
I've heard that even if you get them feeding, they don't stay feeding every time, and they're fun.
Yeah, you really want to. I've learned before you take them to shows or before you put them online, you really need to make sure those have been eating for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're a real pain. The weird thing is they will just not eat for months and months and months, and then just one day just decide to start eating.
Yeah.
It's weird. And every clutch there'll be a couple that just don't eat.
I did rosy bows for a long time before I found out I couldn't have them. And dude, those are the weirdest snakes with feeding.
Had them illegally for years.
They
would have edit that out.
No, I'm outside the statute of limitations.
I have his address if the cops want to know. Just message me.
Fish and Wildlife has been here. We're good. I have black pines. We're all right. But yeah, I have a plethora of things I can't have. But dude, yeah, I had rosy bows forever. You want to talk about an animal that just like will eat, won't eat, maybe did eat, maybe doesn't eat, take its water bowl out because it'll just throw up, dumber than fucking rocks. So every snake's different, and yeah, I've heard that that tricolor hogs are kind of like that. They'll eat, they won't eat, maybe they do eat. Then maybe the female gives you 430,000 babies that don't want to eat. And,
yeah,
it's cool you're working with them though. I mean, I
enjoy them.
Yeah, they're really cool animals. They're really, really neat.
They're like no other snake. They don't act like they have this weird twitchy thing that they do.
The scalation is so odd. It's not. I don't know the right way to describe it. It's like keeled scales that are exceptionally smooth.
Yes, they're very small. They're very, very small. Absolutely, and they. I don't know how to I can take them out of the show and like sit it on top of a display case and it'll just like twitch and flip and just kind of sit there. It won't. It's got they're the oddest little snakes. They really are.
And they're gorgeous.
They are. Yeah. And then some of them go black and white. Like they'll get that. They call it hypo E. I don't know if that's a thing or not. But
yeah.
Some of them just go black and some of them don't. Yeah. And they're really cool when they go black.
They're really neat.
That iridescence and everything. But,
so we kind of hit a point with everybody that's on the show and ask them about two different morphs to get their opinion. I think we've kind of already clicked the palmetto button and gotten your opinion on that. What's your thoughts on scaleless and maybe the future of scaleless?
Scaleless corn snakes?
Yes, sir.
Of course. I love them, but they're kind of like palmettos. I think the classics look the best. I don't think when you add other stuff, it kind of takes it away. Maybe Annery.
I like the Anneries.
Annery scaleless are so badass.
Tessera, they're kind of cool with the stripe thing going on. A lot of the other ones, I'm just kind of like, Snows look very odd. I don't like the way Snows look.
Some of the reverse features look really badass. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I have seen some of those. They look nice. I think they got a spot, but they're not going to be like it's a spot in the morphology.
They peaked in high school.
They peaked in high school. That's a good way of putting it.
You know, it's funny. I know people that are so obsessed with scaleless. That's the only corn snakes they want to have. Mm-hmm. They gecko people get into corn snakes because of the scaleless, and it's so funny.
I want a snake that feels like a gecko.
They diverge out of it. Everybody that gets into the scaleless in corn snakes diverges out of that, and then all of a sudden they've got charcoal stuff or diffused stuff or have you ever seen a honey? Yeah, I've seen a honey.
Yeah, right.
Now they got it's a. I think they're gorgeous.
I think they got a place, but they're not the top.
I don't know, man. Like going to Daytona and seeing how many het stuff is available. You know, that's het scaleless, het palmetto. There were some tables that had really nice stuff. It was almost frustrating because it was like, I'm just trying to find something that I like that doesn't have this floating around in it because I really don't want any of it.
Yeah.
Nothing against it. I just have zero interest in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, damn, everything is het for this. Like, what the hell?
There's a guy that listens that I'm trying to get on the show, and I forget his name. And hopefully, if he's listening right now, message me. And he deals almost exclusively with scaleless palmettos, and then the albino added in that. I think he produced the first albino scaleless palmetto, and it's I want to hear more about that. I want to it's it's a very interesting looking animal. It's weird, and the thing I like about it is it's a completely healthy animal, right? Like with no shedding issues. Yeah, and that's something that I can back. Like we will as hobbyists, and Adrian, me and you will as old men, right? We'll be grumpy about it. We'll be like, that's not, not my job. You're taking our jobs, and
Right.
you know, but I want to agree with that other side of the tracks as well. And
like I said, I don't have anything against it. I just don't. I don't understand the appeal, at least with scaleless in particular. Palmetto, I'm just fairly indifferent to, but I don't know. It just does nothing for me.
I'm with you on the palmetto. It does nothing for me.
See, I sit further on the palmetto tracks, whereas I see a palmetto, I'm like, damn, you know, I think that's a really cool looking animal. I
saw
leucistic pine
one
snakes.
that was so bug-eyed on Instagram. It looked painful.
It looked painful.
And I was like, oh my god, like it just.
Do you remember the Texas
horrible.
rats?
Yeah.
The blue-eyed Texas rats. They were like bug-eyed.
So there's two lines of leucism in Obsoleta, and one of them is a visual het. So you have rusty rats that make leucistics, and they're fine. I don't think there's any bug eyeing that happens with that. You know, Dr. Travis Wyman's done a couple podcasts talking about the eyes of the animal, the scalation on the eyes being one of the last things that forms, and that's why when the pigment is forming, when it doesn't form the scalation in the eyes, there's a reason for the bug eye. And then it's kind of funny that these het leucistic animals don't do that, yet the leucistic animals that are directly recessive do that. And it's, oh my god, I know exactly what you're talking about, those bug eyes.
They were huge.
It's so
huge.
And you know what's funny? Those are mostly healthy animals. Those animals are going to live long lives. They're a little dumber and shit. They're like a Furby. But it's you know. And there's a local girl who bought a bug eye palmetto, and she was so proud of it. And she posted on the look, look at my cute little baby. I'm like, that shit ain't cute. Look dumber than hell. But, I mean, what do we do about deleterious genes? You know.
Oddly enough, like subox, I'm like completely fine. Maybe it's because they're supposed to be like that.
They're supposed to be like that, yeah.
Yeah.
They look stupid as hell, but
yeah,
whatever. Like they're built to, like that's what they're
supposed to be stupid.
Supposed to be that way.
It's like crested geckos, man. They're just, you know what I mean? They're just you look at them and you can't not love them, right? It's
right.
You just want to.
Not a thought between those eyes, but
not at one.
Now,
what a great species, though.
The lights are on, but no one's home.
Oh goodness.
That's the hog nose right there. They are not bright. I've had males trying to eat themselves. I've had to
sounds about right.
Use alcohol to get him from stop eating himself. He had his tail down his throat, like I was worried for his life. He was going to end his own life.
Hognose blow my mind because they're
dumb.
They're so. As far as snakes go, hognose are so far along the evolution ladder, right? You're talking about an animal that has adapted venom, an animal that has adapted a specific pattern and capability of hunting other prey items that no other snake has. Well, to some extent, right? Like we talk about that in a sandbox. It has adapted scalation for its environment. They play dead. They musk in a certain way. They hiss in a certain way. They hood in a certain way. If you look at the pantheon of things that these animals do, it is shocking how fucking stupid they are. And I'm sorry.
How often they chew on the side of my tubs.
It's like, dude, you are the pinnacle of serpentine evolution with the exception of like the king cobra, right? Like it potentially has adapted to more situations than the king cobra because you're 2 foot long and you're dumb.
Yeah.
Right?
Darwin would have rewrote the book had he had one of those in front of him at the time.
And then like all of Darwin's books at the end, there's like a little note that's written in beautiful calligraphy, because I got to assume that's how Darwin wrote everything. He's like, all of these things are exception to the heterodon and colubroid species that have hognose. I don't know how this works. It's the dodo bird.
I've been studying finches for years. This snake has made me question all of it.
Yeah, that's a Zach Loffman thing. I hope he's to this, because it's just such a beautiful species, beautiful morphs, and then you have, like I said, all these neat things that they've adapted themselves to. It's just crazy. It's adapting things from different species across the world. Parallel evolution, without question, right? and it's sitting there just eating its own damn tail.
Right.
It's like, oh man, where did we go wrong?
Right. I'm putting sanitizer on the side of it trying to get it to get off. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, you got anything else you want to ask Adrian?
No, I think we covered all the bases.
All right. It's good to meet
Adrian,
you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely stay in contact. We'll keep up. You're definitely part of the group of people we're going to enjoy talking to.
Awesome. Sounds good.
You have a new Instagram now though, because your other one got pirated.
I changed phones, and then my new phone Instagram would not allow me to get onto Instagram on my new phone.
Yourself?
I hacked myself. I can get onto it on my old phone, but it's my old phone. I'm not going to be looking at it. So I changed the name and then changed it back on a new account. So I got Adrian Captive Creations on a new account. So, but I'm mostly on Facebook anyway. I'm old.
Okay. What shows do you usually vend?
I'm at the Mid-Atlantic every time. That's like 20 minutes from my house. And then doing Hamburg when I can get a table. I'm on the list finally, at least.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah. Progress. Yeah, it's hard to get in there. Gettysburg. I do Oaks. Yeah, it's good. I do okay there. It's all right.
Sometimes it's just fun to rub shoulders, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You sell a few snakes, talk to a few people. And then we're doing some show me snakes.
His hands.
Right? Yeah, we do the show me snakes. The one in Virginia Beach is supposed to be good. We'll see how that one goes.
I have actually heard good things about that show.
A handful that I've been to in Georgia of theirs, it was good.
Yeah, good.
Do a good job.
Yeah. And we're going to Rhode Island for show me snakes too.
Nice.
So we're branching out. I need to do more. I need to do as many as possible. Oh, and I do 4-state in Maryland. It's a really small show, but it does pretty well. For the most part, I do pretty well. They're like really small, like a couple hundred people through the door, but they're buying. So
nice.
So a lot of the lower New England shows you're going to be at.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. Pennsylvania is a good spot. Pennsylvania's a really good spot.
Dude, yeah, I didn't realize that kind of like south of New Jersey, kind of north of North Carolina, over to Pennsylvania area is like a mecca. That's awesome.
Yeah, you could do a show every weekend if you wanted to, and not travel that far.
I'm all you can in Texas. You could do a show almost every weekend, but you're also going to be driving 12 hours each.
12 hours, yeah. No, like probably 4 hours. If I did 4 hours in all directions, I could probably do a show every weekend.
Wow. Yeah, for me to get to Arlington from here, it's almost 8 hours.
Yep.
It's because Texas is its own country.
That is true.
It's like Australia, but not shitty. You know what I mean?
Right? Not shitty. Not everything's trying to kill you. Just some of it is.
It's all trying to kill you.
Okay, that's good to know.
The sun, the rocks.
The sun. Oh, man. The sun.
Well, this episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Give us a follow. Hunt us down. Use the code THN at checkout. Get a little bit taken off the top of your order. Save yourself a little bit of coin. And then go and check out the fine folks at Silent Hill Reptiles. Also, awesome stuff. And you need to be following them. Even if they don't have anything available, you still need to be following them and checking out and staying in the loop so that when they do, you can be the first one to get your hands on some of it. Because me and Chris are looking through that list all the time. I don't know how many times.
Every time.
I've been on their website just looking at the for sale page going, I need to just go ahead and do that and get it and get it over with. Just do it.
And I know what he's grown out. And I know what he's planning on producing in the next couple of years. And he's got some
insider trading. We know what's in the pipeline.
I've got my caramel Miami from him. Het diffused, Het cinder, Het Sunkissed has been pairing up to my honey Miami female that I got from him a couple years ago. Had a few confirmed locks already with them.
We don't put me down for at least one of those.
They are both children of Hannibal. Justin, you're getting the whole clutch that I don't keep.
Those will not go anywhere. Yeah. Those will stay with me for eternity.
So hopefully some honeys this year. I'd love if I get the cinder diffused honey caramel. If I get the son of Hannibal, you know what I mean? Because both of these are children of Hannibal. If I get that baby this year, I'm gonna be y'all gonna hear me from South Texas. I'm gonna be squeaking. So
Nice.
So yeah,
Sounds good.
I'm so excited for the snakes I'm producing just from his snakes. So yeah, everybody keep an eye on them, and yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
we'll be back for Snakes and Stogies on Monday. We're doing the drawing for the Slate Reed raffle. Please go get your slots for that still while you
Yeah,
can.
there's a handful of slots left on that. Everybody needs to go out and see what's available. There's a bunch of really cool shit still on the table.
Mertens monitor.
I'm gonna win that Mertens
Mandarin,
monitor, baby. Let's go.
All kinds of stuff. And awesome. Let me tell you, awesome.
Sounds
Newport line stripe cow king.
Newport Gene. Albino
I don't know. It's a cow king, and it's not black and white.
It's the morph that people think that Tessera came from, Justin.
Oh no!
Ah.
Now it's got to get out of my house even
the
more.
The Newport gene is the stripy gene that's dominant in California king snakes that people think that Tessera came from, but there's no way that Tessera came from it because every Newport gene California king snake has a solid stripe from its coagula down to the tip of its tail. Every single one of them does. Yeah. And it also has a solid belly pattern from its coagula down to the tip of its tail, and you do not get that out of Tessera at all. So unless you mix it with Motley, we're not talking about that right now, but or stripe.
Either way, you can win one if you go and buy some slots on it. And then we have a copy of the more complete Carpet Python up, and really, there's only been a couple slots bought for that, which I was sure that would be one of the first things to fill up. So
yeah, if I didn't have it, I would have done that. There's also, and I need to go buy some slots for the fossil that Travis Wyman donated. It's really cool, and I need to get a couple slots for that.
He did that, like he went and not carved it, but uncovered it himself. You know, it wasn't like something he just went and bought. Yeah. Like he got a piece and did his thing, and it looks really cool. It's neat. I think he said it's Eocene. Is that one of the eras?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Justin.
Yeah, I think that's. I asked him how it was, and that's what he told me. So, for what that's worth, I don't know.
I'm dumb, so I have no idea.
Yeah, so we'll be live for that Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
I'll check it out.
I hope to see everybody there. And I got my ping pong balls and jug ready to draw some names. And it'll be good. So thank you all.
Absolutely.
Adrian, thank you again.
Thank you. It's good to meet you guys.
You too.
Absolutely.
See everybody later.
All right. We'll see you.